Luo Shenxi is ugly pathetic loser. Even his mom knows he is a legendary loser. But one day he discovers he has the power to transform objects into women. So after getting this power, how will this loser's life gonna change? Let's dive into it in this video and see what happens. So, there's this kid, Luo Shenxi, just your average 18-year-old dude, totally stressed over the college entrance test. Like, he thinks it's the worst thing ever. His mom's super disappointed in him and calls him a loser, which is a total bummer. So, he packs up and decides to crash solo instead of living with her. But here's the kicker, he's not really alone. He rolls back home one day, calls out like, "Hey, I'm here," and drops his backpack. He's unpacking this food he just grabbed, when he glances over at his collection of anime girl action figures. Yeah, he totally thinks of them as his girlfriends. They're like his little squad, and even though he knows it's a little weird, he kinda loves them. But then, frustration hits. He flops down on his bed, blaming his mom for all his problems, wishing he had a cooler name. Out of nowhere, his phone rings, and he picks it up. A bit later, a package arrives with his shiny new Pineapple 11 phone. He's stoked. He starts moving all his stuff over to the new device, but it's taking forever, so he ends up dozing off. When he finally wakes up, he's in this pitch-black place with just one beam of light, and there's this stunning fairy-like girl chilling there. He's like, what the heck? Totally confused about how he got there. The next morning, he wakes up and thinks, ugh, that was just a weird dream. But surprise, surprise, there's this mysterious girl in his room. Luo's all, who are you? What's the deal? She's not even fazed and calls him her master, which makes him super awkward. Turns out, she's just as lost as he is. He's trying to be polite, like, hey, can you just bounce? But then she starts crying, thinking he wants to ditch her for his new smartphone. So, Luo's like, alright, I gotta get the cops involved, and starts hunting for his old phone. But, shocker, he can't find it anywhere. All he's got is that brand new Pineapple 11. Then it hits him, what if that fairy from his dream is somehow connected? Just then, he hears his ringtone blasting from the girl. He's like, wait a minute, could this girl actually be my phone? He kinda freaks out and accuses her of swiping his phone, but she's like, do you wanna answer that call? Luo's all, duh. Of course I do. And just like that, she leans in and kisses him out of nowhere. He totally freaks and pushes her away, but, oh, he kinda bumps into a very awkward spot. Like, talk about a first kiss going south. He didn't even see that coming. Now, back in the day, Luo had this wild dream of being a wizard. He was convinced that if he stayed a virgin for 25 years, he'd unlock some serious magical powers. But while he's lost in these thoughts, he doesn't realize his mom's on the call with the girl. Then, bam, he hears his mom's voice coming out of her, and it's like, whoa. She starts scolding him about not helping her check out an apartment nearby before wrapping up the call. As he watches his phone totally transform, it hits him like a ton of bricks. His dream might just be real. He's got some kind of superpower now. So, Luo's sitting there, all curious about his new powers, and he's like, what if I can turn stuff into girls? He grabs one of his dolls, hoping it'll magically become a human. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. Total bummer. Feeling kinda down, he turns to Nikki, his fairy turn phone, and asks her about some files on his computer to prove she's the real deal. To his surprise, she nails it, giving him the info spot on. Now, feeling a little adventurous, he asks her what her name is. But since she used to be a phone, she's got nada. So she's like, hey, why don't you name me? Luo thinks about his favorite anime girl and decides on Nikki. She lights up, all excited that her master named her. And honestly, it warms his heart a bit. Just as they're vibing, there's a knock at the door. Luo's heart drops. He knows it's gotta be his mom, and she's got the key to the apartment. Quick on his feet, he shoves Nikki into his wardrobe and tells her to go into standby mode. He slams the wardrobe shut and rushes to the door, trying to play it cool for his young, slightly overprotective mom. She opens the door, and right away, she spots his flustered face and is like, what's up with you? Luo's brain goes into overdrive, so he throws out a quick excuse, saying he's just getting dressed and woke up late. But his awkwardness is like a neon sign flashing, something's up. Then, his mom sniffs the air and is like, what's that smell? Panic mode activated. Luo, in a total scramble, blames it on his laundry detergent. He thinks he's in the clear, but then he catches sight of Nikki's shoe poking out from the wardrobe. Oh no! Desperate to keep his secret safe, he goes into stealth mode, trying to snag that shoe before his mom notices. Because let's be real, explaining a random girl's shoe would not go well. So, things took a turn, and Luo totally got caught in the act. He dropped to his knees in front of the wardrobe, trying to hide Nikki's shoe behind him, but it was obvious something was up. His mom, sensing the weirdness, grabbed one of his favorite dolls and chucked it against the wall. Luo's reflexes kicked in, and he lunged to catch the doll, totally forgetting about the whole hidden fairy situation. As he turned back around, he saw his mom holding the shoe, and she's demanding an explanation like she's a detective or something. It just kept getting crazier when Nikki's clothes got stuck between the wardrobe door and the entrance. So, of course, his mom opens the wardrobe and, bam, there's Nikki. Instead of flipping out, she starts crying, telling Luo to be a responsible man. Total misunderstanding. He tries to explain, but she's not having it. I mean, this is the kid who's never even been on a date, and now he's got a cute girl like Nikki in his room? Then, Nikki jumps in, defending Luo, saying she wasn't kidnapped or anything. She calls him master, which sends his mom into full-on protective mode, thinking Nikki's using him and maybe even sending him off to an asylum. Thinking fast, Luo blurted out that Nikki was his girlfriend, and surprisingly, his mom bought it. Before she left, she reminded him about that chore he had with their neighbor, and as she was walking out, she tossed him a pack of contraceptives. Luo's face turned beet red. So, Luo was super embarrassed by his mom's antics and just tossed the pack of contraceptives away. But, of course, Nikki spotted it and, being the curious little fairy she is, picked it up like it was a snack. Luo freaked out and snatched it from her, explaining it's definitely not something she should be munching on. Nikki, all intrigued, asked what it was, but Luo hesitated. He figured some things were better left unsaid. Meanwhile, his stomach was growling like crazy. He hadn't eaten since last night, and it was time to fix that. He decided to whip up some cup noodles, but then he heard some weird growling noises coming from Nikki's stomach. Like, what? She's just a smartphone, right? But curiosity got the best of him, and he asked her if she'd transformed into a human and if it was cool to feed her. He politely asked her to open her mouth for a look-see. Nikki was a little hesitant but eventually went along with it. Luo leaned in and, despite being totally inexperienced with girls, managed to check her out. And whoa, she had a real human body, complete with organs. Talk about a game changer. Excited, he grabbed all the food he had and offered her a buffet of choices. Nikki was stoked, and when he showed her some tasty chips, she shocked him by picking a packet of steamed buns. Luo was like, okay, that's a solid choice. But when she tried to munch on the packet itself, he had to jump in and explain, hey, you gotta open it first. Finally, Nikki got to enjoy the food, and her face lit up. Seeing her happy made Luo feel all warm and fuzzy inside, so he told her to eat as much as she wanted. Then he thought about sharing some jelly, but out of nowhere, a bright light flashed, and Nikki turned back into a smartphone. Luo was like, no way, not again. He really wanted her around and was determined to figure out what was going on with these transformations. He remembered she first changed back when he woke up, so if his theory was right, these transformations were happening around midnight. Checking the clock, he saw it was almost that time, and he thought, okay, let's test this out. As he laid down, he realized he wasn't even tired. He thought about going for a run to tire himself out, but nah, that didn't sound fun. Then he spotted a box of tissues and considered a different kind of exercise, but when his gaze landed on his smartphone, he changed his mind again. Finally, he picked up one of his dolls, thinking it was past midnight, which confirmed his theory about the transformations. The doll asked if he was sleepy and offered to help him doze off. She wrapped her arms around him, trying to lull him to sleep, and Luo was just sitting there, all confused about how to feel. So, this girl, even with her innocent vibes, had some serious inner strength. She crawled back into bed, all ready to catch some ZS, even though Luo was still deep in his thoughts about his powers. He felt kinda duped, realizing his ability was all about timing and he couldn't just use it whenever he wanted. He wanted to transform Nikki but totally miscalculated. Suddenly, the blanket girl woke up and saw him in tears, asking what was up. Instead of getting all sad or anything, she just smiled and hugged him from behind, pressing her body against him, which made him blush like crazy. She invited him to sleep again, but Luo quickly turned her down. She thought maybe he didn't like how she looked anymore. He had to explain that she had transformed into a girl, and sleeping together wasn't really an option anymore. She just went back to bed and sweetly asked him to come sleep with her. So, he hopped in, but while lying down, he remembered she still didn't have a name. He decided to name her Beijing since she turned into a blanket. A little connection started to form, and she mentioned that maybe it was because he didn't beat her like her mom did. Luo was confused, so she clarified that she meant folding and beating the dust out of blankets, which he was too lazy to do anyway. She asked him to promise he'd never beat her, and he was like, for sure, I promise. They settled back down, with Beijing snuggling up tight against him. Luo was like, how am I supposed to sleep like this? But then, out of nowhere, that bright light popped up again, and she transformed back into a blanket. Luo was left wondering why the time limit was so short this time and why it made him feel like he just ran a marathon. He collapsed right there. When he woke up at dawn, he was still clutching the blanket. He headed to the bathroom and thought, what happens if it hits midnight while I'm in here? He realized his right hand was the magic trigger and it didn't seem to work anywhere else. He wondered if it would even affect living things. While he was making breakfast, he noticed that the neighboring apartment, which had been vacant forever, was suddenly fluid and chaotic. That's when he remembered the task his mom had given him. He ditched his food and went to check it out. When he stepped outside, he saw a bunch of movers and greeted them, not expecting a new tenant next door. Soon enough, he heard some commotion inside his own place, and then, boom, a cat appeared right in front of him. He gently petted the little furball and wondered where it came from. Just then, a high school girl showed up, looking for her cat named Coffee. She apologized for the cat's little adventure and explained they had just moved in, hence the morning chaos. She was the new tenant, and in a rush to get to school, she begged Luo to watch over her cat for a bit. He was totally down for that. She thanked him like a million times before running off. Luo felt a thrill because he had always dreamed of being a cat owner. He picked out a stuffed cat for Coffee to play with. So, Coffee was all about that stuffed cat life, just cuddling and playing with it nonstop. When dinner rolled around, Coffee sprinted to its food like it hadn't eaten in ages. After devouring its meal, the little furball licked its paws clean, and Luo couldn't help but think how ridiculously cute that was. He was totally glued to watching Coffee until it started acting a little weird, and he realized it needed to use the litter box. Luo grabbed a box for Coffee, trying to wrap his head around how something so adorable could produce anything so smelly. He quickly dealt with the situation, but taking care of a pet was kinda exhausting, and he felt his energy slipping away. Then it hit him. What if his power could transform living beings too? The idea of having a cat girl, especially one in a maid outfit, had him daydreaming. So, he decided to give it a shot and planned to transform Coffee into a girl at midnight. He set his alarm for 11:59 p.m., practically buzzing with excitement. But then he started wondering where that girl had run off to. It was getting late. When the alarm finally went off, he called Coffee over, ready to kick off the transformation. But as Coffee was making its way to him, it tripped over the stuffed cat, sending it flying. In a reflex move, Luo reached out to catch it with his right hand, and, bam, it transformed into a girl right before his eyes. The cat girl, complete with a cute little tail, thanked him for letting her stay in his place. She noticed Luo staring at her tail and asked if he was checking it out. He couldn't believe it and lightly touched his cheek to make sure he wasn't dreaming. To his surprise, she started making these adorable little noises, and he couldn't help but grin. He patted her head gently and called her a good girl. Curiosity kicked in, and he asked what her name was. With a shy smile, she said, "I'm Mimi," just like that girl next door he had met the day before. Luo's eyes were glued to her floppy ears, and he felt this urge to touch them. He nervously asked if it was cool to do so, and Mimi nodded, all happy, saying she loved being petted. So, he reached out to touch her ears, feeling brave. But then, he decided to explore and gently reached for her tail. Big mistake. Mimi let out a sudden scream and clung to him like a koala, saying her tail was super sensitive and shouldn't be touched that way. Luo quickly got it and apologized, assuring her he didn't mean to freak her out. Just then, he heard some growling noises coming from her stomach. "Oh, are you hungry?" he asked. He jumped up and whipped up a glass of milk and some food for her, urging her to dig in. At first, Mimi looked a little unsure, kinda hesitant about how to approach the food. But then, like a playful cat, she started lapping up the milk. Luo was all, "Whoa, hold up," and gently reminded her she was a human now and needed to eat like one. Wanting to help her out, he scooped Mimi up onto his lap and started showing her how to eat properly. But just when they were getting the hang of it, she accidentally hurt her finger, and tears welled up in her eyes. Luo reacted fast, trying to comfort her and make it all better. Gently, Luo took Mimi's hurt finger and gave it a soft kiss, hoping to ease her pain. Mimi felt all sorts of weird when he sucked on her finger, but he quickly got it sorted by slapping a bandage on it. After that, Luo flopped down on his bed, feeling pretty wiped out. Meanwhile, Mimi started playing with Coffee, and before he knew it, they'd turned his apartment into a total disaster zone. When Luo spotted Coffee trying to wreck his computer, he leaped up and grabbed both Mimi and the cat. "Hey, you're a talking cat now. What's going on here?" he asked, trying to get to the bottom of the chaos. Mimi put on her cutest face, but Luo wasn't having it. Just then, Coffee managed to escape and hopped onto his desk, giving him this sassy look. Things went from bad to worse when the cat snatched one of Luo's favorite action figures and tossed it across the room. Luo lunged to catch it, but Coffee leaped onto his face instead, making him yelp in pain. "Why is this happening?" Luo groaned. But then Mimi got all excited and shouted, "My master is back." That got Luo to his feet in a hurry. He reminded her that she was in human form now, and he needed to take charge of the situation. He opened the door, and bam! The girl from next door tumbled right into his arms. She was all out of breath, talking about how she'd been taking care of her sick friend all day. "Whoa, be careful. You shouldn't be wandering around at night," he cautioned. But then she teased him, saying he was acting like her dad, and it made him feel a little awkward. "By the way, have you seen my cat?" she asked, her eyes lighting up. Just then, Coffee strolled out of the room like it owned the place, and relief washed over Luo as the girl happily reunited with her furry friend. Feeling generous, Luo asked if she wanted to keep the stuffed cat toy too, but she waved him off. "Nah, you can toss it if you want." With that, she waved goodbye and left, and Luo dashed back to his room, where he found Mimi looking super upset. Without missing a beat, he wrapped her in a big hug. "I got you," he said, but then she hit him with some heavy news. she was slowly losing her energy. And just like that, right before his eyes, Mimi transformed back into a toy. Luo felt this crushing weight of helplessness. It hit him hard. If an owner stopped cherishing something, it would just fade away. Tears streamed down his face as he mourned the loss of his sweet companion, feeling their bond slipping through his fingers. When he woke up, it was just him in the room. The morning sun kicked in, and he jumped up, grabbing a notebook to jot down everything he knew about his weird superpower. He scribbled down all sorts of rules, like how there was a time limit, which he still didn't quite grasp, and that things would disappear if their owner no longer wanted them. Luo decided he'd bring back Nikki first. He wasn't ready to deal with Mimi just yet, so Nikki felt like the safer bet. He patiently waited for midnight, and when the clock struck, he touched his old smartphone. With a burst of light, he summoned Nikki back, and she immediately wrapped her arms around him. Nikki was over the moon to see her master again. Nikki plopped down right on Luo's stomach, and he was like, "Whoa, maybe let's not do that?" After finally summoning Nikki back, he made a beeline for the bathroom, but of course, she followed him in. "Do you need me to do anything for you?" she asked. Luo got all nervous and was like, no thanks, just be careful, okay?" "Sure thing, master," she chirped. Luo winced a little. "Okay, maybe not master all the time. How about we switch it up? I want to take you on a date, and I think we should start calling each other different names." Her eyes lit up. "What's a date?" Luo got all excited, explaining, "It's when two people who live close hang out and have fun together." Nikki beamed. "I'd love to go on a date with you." Boom, idea time. "From now on, call me brother," he said. She agreed and called him brother, and Luo felt a rush of happiness. So they went out on their date, and it was a blast. Luo even bought her a balloon when she asked for one. Then Nikki spotted something in the distance. "What's that?" Luo squinted and cringed. "Oh, it's a tofu shop. Kinda makes me feel weird just thinking about it. Let's eat something else," Nikki said, and Luo was all for it. She'd eat whatever her brother suggested, which made him feel all warm and fuzzy inside. As they were enjoying their day, a girl approached them. She complimented them and then tried to sell Luo some jewelry. When Nikki saw the shiny stuff, her eyes sparkled with desire. Luo thought, typical girl, right? Shine and glimmer always get them. Feeling generous, he decided to buy her a ring. "How much for one of these?" he asked the seller. She played it cool and was like, "Oh, this one's normally $250, but I can give you a discount since you two are such a cute couple." Luo could tell she was definitely trying to pull a fast one. Nikki picked up a ring and slipped it on. "How do I look?" "Pretty good," Luo said, but the seller chimed in, Sweetie, that goes on your ring finger, it's for when you get married." Luo's face went beet red at the thought of marrying someone as amazing as Nikki. "Okay, I'll take it," he blurted, and the moment he handed over the cash, the seller bolted. It all happened so fast that he barely registered what was going on. "Wait, did she just?" Nikki started, and Luo suddenly realized they'd been scammed. They tried to chase her down, but no luck at all. When they finally stopped to catch their breath, they found themselves in a totally unfamiliar spot. "Where are we?" Nikki asked, looking around confused. Luo quickly changed the subject, trying to keep it cool. Let's just head back." But then Nikki noticed something. "Hey, isn't that someone from your place?" Luo turned to see his mom and dad in the distance, and panic hit him. No way did he want them to see him out with a girl. He grabbed Nikki's hand and whispered, "Let's hide." They ducked into a nearby hotel room, hoping his parents wouldn't spot them. So, Luo heads over to the receptionist and asks if they've got 2 rooms available. The receptionist gives him a knowing look and says, "Sorry, we only have 1 left." With no other options, Luo reluctantly agrees, completely unaware of what's about to go down. They hop in the elevator, and Luo's feeling a bit skeptical about the whole situation. When they finally reach their room, he opens the door and is totally hit with shock. The place is decked out with all this romantic decor and has a heart-shaped bed. It's like something straight out of a rom-com. Nikki, on the other hand, is all about it. She rushes straight to the bed, bouncing with excitement, while Luo is just standing there, blushing like a tomato. He can't believe he's in a room like this with a gorgeous girl. Noticing his flushed face, Nikki asks, "What's up with you?" Luo, trying to play it cool, says, "Oh, it's nothing, just a little sweaty." He nervously cranks up the air conditioner. Then Nikki casually suggests he take a shower if he's feeling hot, pointing toward the transparent bathroom. Luo's face turns even redder. He's not ready for a shower in front of her. He stammers that he'll just wait until he gets home. Nikki raises an eyebrow, clearly skeptical, because she remembers all those times he didn't care. After all, she used to be his smartphone and had seen it all, the good, the bad, and even the ugly crying after sad movies. Luo feels that familiar embarrassment creeping back, but Nikki reassures him she won't spill any of his secrets. They both flop onto the bed, just waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, Nikki looks at him and says, "I really want to be the only one for you. I want you to be exclusive with me." Luo's heart skips a beat, he can't believe she's feeling this way. Then, she totally catches him off guard by saying she wants him to kiss her. She leans in, and Luo's a hot mess of nerves and sweat. They're super close, ready to lock lips, when suddenly, bam, time runs out. Nikki gasps and transforms back into a smartphone, leaving Luo all alone again. Stunned, Luo makes his way back to the receptionist, ready to check out. But she looks confused and asks, "Hey, where's the girl you came in with?" Luo's stomach drops. She, transformed?" he jokes, trying to keep it light. The receptionist raises an eyebrow, clearly not buying it. Luo stumbles through an explanation, saying she left already, but she's not convinced since he's been there the whole time. Somehow, he manages to wiggle out of that awkward situation and swears he's never coming back to a place like this again. Back home, he starts jotting down everything he's learned about his weird powers. He experiments a bit and figures out that he can't transform natural stuff like water, and if his hand's wrapped in a bandage, forget it. Later, while he's scrolling through the internet, he stumbles across a post. Guess what? It's from the same girl who sold him that ring yesterday. What a twist. So, Luo's scrolling through the post, and this girl is saying she accidentally sold this super important ring to some random dude yesterday, and now she's trying to track him down. She describes him as tall, over 170 centimeters, and handsome, and oh yeah, he was totally alone. Luo's like, "Wait, alone? I was with Nikki." Curiosity gets the better of him, so he heads back to the same spot where he met the seller. After a bit of searching, he spots her and she immediately calls him out, demanding the ring back. Luo hands it over without missing a beat. Once the ring's returned, he decides to ask her a favor. "Hey, are you sure I was alone yesterday?" The girl nods, confirming he was definitely solo. Luo's mind is blown. This just makes everything feel weirder. He rushes back to the hotel where he and Nikki had their little adventure. He asks the receptionist if he can check the CCTV footage, claiming he might have left his luggage there. The receptionist pulls it up, and guess what? It shows Luo totally alone, no sign of Nikki anywhere. When Luo asks if he remembers a girl with him, the guy gets a little annoyed and insists there was no one else. Feeling a mix of anger and frustration, Luo decides to drop it and heads home. After a quick shower, he's still replaying everything in his mind. He thought maybe everyone else forgot about Nikki when she vanished, but he still remembered her. Then, as he reaches for his underwear, bam! A flash of light, and he accidentally turns his underwear into a girl. Like, what? He kicks her out of the bathroom, but she pops right back in front of him. And there he is, completely naked. Talk about awkward. The girl just chuckles and teases him, saying, "Oh, I've seen your private parts before." Mortified, Luo rushes to get her out of the bathroom. Once he wraps himself in a towel and steps outside, he sees the girl standing on the balcony, staring off into the distance. Curious, he asks what she's doing. To his surprise, she asks him what it's like to go outside. The question throws him off, but he listens as she spills her heart. She explains she's never been outside because she's always hidden under clothes, and she just wants a moment to breathe in the fresh air. Luo imagines the chaos of strutting around in his underwear and shudders. No way he can let her do that. But the girl is relentless, begging him for just a tiny moment of freedom. Eventually, he caves a little, feeling uneasy about it. Her face lights up with joy, and before he knows it, she kisses him on the cheek, making him blush like crazy. Then she grabs his hand, all excited to head outside. Meanwhile, Luo's heart races because he realizes he's not wearing much clothing. So, the girl takes Luo outside, and she's buzzing with excitement to finally see the world. Luo's feeling a bit jittery but tries to keep up. She reminds him that he's usually super fast, so he better bring that energy now. But honestly, he's struggling to match her vibe. Then it hits him, he never gave her a name. After some thought, he decides on Gray since it kinda fits her look. He casually asks if she likes the name, and she shrugs, saying names don't really matter. Alright then, Gray it is. They spot a vending machine, and Gray's all curious, asking what it is. Luo explains it's a machine that sells drinks. He offers to grab her one, but she's hesitant since she's not really into drinking. Still, he goes ahead and buys 2 drinks anyway. They find a cozy bench under some lights and settle in to sip on their drinks, just enjoying the chill vibe. Out of the blue, Gray asks if they can stay outside all night. Luo's like, no way. He explains it's gonna get cold, and he doesn't want them to catch a chill. But Gray's persistent, trying to convince him otherwise. For Luo, the thought of being outside in just his underwear? Total nightmare. He sticks to his guns and keeps saying no. The next morning, a couple of people spot Luo snoozing on the bench, clutching his underwear. They ask him why he's out there like that, and he suddenly realizes what's happened. Total embarrassment. He heads home, wanting to hide from the world. Once he's back, he starts flipping through some comic books to kill time, still pondering his weird superpower. He thinks about how it hasn't really done anything cool yet and dreams of summoning mecha or sailor uniform girls. But then he gets hit with the reality that that kind of power might take a ton of his energy, and honestly, it's a pretty awkward superpower. Suddenly, he hears some suspicious noises outside his window. He peeks out and sees two shady dudes lurking around a car. Luo's got a bad feeling and thinks they might be up to no good, so he decides to go check it out. Turns out, they're thieves trying to break into the car. Luo pulls out his smartphone but realizes it's too late to call the cops, so he has to think fast. Then it hits him. He tosses his phone away, and poof, it transforms into Nikki, who lands right on one of the thieves. Classic move. Later, the cops roll in and arrest both guys. Luo checks online and sees the news report, where one of the thieves is telling the story about how a smartphone turned into a girl and fell on him. Everyone's like, yeah, right, but Luo's grinning because finally, he did something good with his power. His pride is soaring. So, Nikki turns to Luo and asks if she can take off her clothes. Luo's like, whoa, hold up, you're a girl, and you can't just do that. Nikki tries to explain that it's super hot out, and she wants something cooler to wear since he knows a thing or two about girl fashion. Luo gets her point and suggests, how about we go swimming? They hit the beach, and Nikki's face just lights up when she sees all the people chilling in the sun. Right then, a mysterious lady rolls up, trying to sell them swimsuits. Luo and Nikki follow her to her little shop, and the lady starts showing off all these swimsuit options. Luo's looking at them, but honestly, some of them are way too revealing for his taste. He's more into modest styles. The seller brings out some old-school swimsuits, but Luo thinks they look like something his grandma would wear. Then he spots a cute one that's just right for Nikki, not too flashy, not too dated. Perfect. Excited, he encourages her to try it on. When Nikki steps out in the swimsuit, Luo gets hit with a rush of excitement, like, nosebleed-level excitement. She looks adorable, and of course, she totally vibes with the compliment. Ready to splash around, they're about to dive in when out of nowhere, this girl storms up to them, fuming. She calls Luo a heartless brat, leaving both him and Nikki totally shocked. Luo squints and suddenly realizes it's Xian Xiaowan, his childhood friend. She's angry because she thinks Luo moved on way too fast, and now he's got this younger girl calling him brother. Then she drops the bomb about how she confessed to him once, but he totally shut her down. Luo's just standing there, confused, until memories hit him. Yeah, they used to hang out all the time, and one day, Xian was all about that future marriage talk, but he said she was like a sister. Luo defends himself, saying they were just kids back then, not thinking straight. Xian's not having it but then turns to Nikki and introduces herself. They hit it off pretty quick, and Xian tells Nikki she can come to her if Luo ever gives her trouble. But Nikki's all, nah, he's a good guy, he'd never bully me. Xian's still puzzled about why Nikki thinks so highly of Luo. Just then, her friend shows up calling her, and before she leaves, she warns Luo, if you ever hurt Nikki, you'll have to answer to me. Once she bounces, Nikki tells Luo how popular he is with girls and then drops a little wish of her own. Luo, curious, asks if she wants to be his girlfriend. Nikki looks all serious and says she wants to from the bottom of her heart but can't. And just like that, she transforms back into a smartphone, leaving Luo feeling all alone. He promises himself he'll wait for her. The next day, while he's catching some Z's, his phone rings, it's his mom calling. So, Luo picks up the phone, and his mom's straight up snapping at him for being all sleepy and lazy. She's like, I need your help, get down here, like, now. Luo's heart starts racing a bit, and he drags himself out of bed to meet her. When he gets there, his mom's fussing over her car, which has clearly seen better days. Luo's all curious, why are you getting rid of your favorite car? She's not having it, explaining that the thing's totally useless now and just won't work anymore. Luo takes a look and asks why she hasn't grabbed some new parts yet. She gets a bit fiery and explains she's already hit up a bunch of repair shops, but no one wants to touch it because it's beyond saving. Luo gets the vibe and tells her to go chill out. He's got this. Once she bounces, Luo thinks, time to take a risk. He uses his superpower on the car and, boom, it turns into a girl. She recognizes him right away and calls him the idiot son of her master. Luo feels super embarrassed but also kinda proud that his power actually worked. He notices her voice is a little rough, probably from her car life, so he hands her some water. No gas for you in this form, he says, and when she drinks, she coughs up some blood and metal parts. Luo realizes that's probably what's been wrong all along. The girl starts feeling better and thanks him. Then she drops a bombshell, asking him to sit on her lap. Luo's like, no thanks, you're not a car anymore. She gets all defensive, thinking he's dissing her because she's older, but he clears that up real quick. She asks him how long she's been with his family, and he remembers it's been about 14 years since they bought her when he was just a little kid. She tells him she's about to turn 15 and then she'll be scrapped, which is totally unfair since she's been a loyal ride. She has one last request. She wants him to play with her before she kicks the bucket. Luo starts sweating because he just got his driver's license, but he's not feeling super confident behind the wheel. So, he switches to his smartphone and asks Nikki if she's around. She confirms, and he asks her to check the car's validity. After a bit, he happily tells the car girl that new rules mean she can be saved even after 15 years if she gets the right maintenance. The girl lights up hearing that. He even mentions he could transform her again if needed, and she's super grateful, still calling him the idiot son. Then suddenly, Luo feels dizzy and starts losing consciousness. The next thing he knows, he's back in the garage, and the girl's transformed back into a car just as his mom shows up. She's fuming when she finds him luonging around, but Luo's quick to explain he fixed her car. His mom's in disbelief, like, "You did what?" Then he suggests, "If you're getting a new car, why not let me keep the old one to practice my driving?" She thinks that sounds fine, especially since her son has a girlfriend now, which totally catches Luo off guard. He's like, "Wait, you remember Nikki?" And his mom gets all defensive, thinking he doubts her memory. She fires back, "Of course I remember. I'm not losing my mind." Luo was trying to ease his mom's mind, promising he'd bring his girlfriend over next time he visited his grandparents. With that said, he hopped into the car and took off. But as he drove, he started wondering why some people didn't remember Nikki but his mom did. Was it because she was family? Maybe the blood connection let her feel the effects of his superpower more than others? So many questions, but not a single answer in sight. Suddenly, he hit the brakes when something caught his eye. He stepped out of the car and saw this adorable little cat all alone, abandoned next to some trash. Poor thing looked injured, and it hit him that someone probably ditched it, hoping someone else would take it in. The weirdest part? This little furball totally looked like Mimi. No way that was just a coincidence. Luo felt his heart melt and decided he had to adopt the cat. Fast forward, he got home with the cat, patched up its injuries, and slowly but surely, the little guy started fitting right into Luo's life. One day, Luo asked Nikki if she wanted to join him for a grocery run, but she was all, "Nah, I can't leave Mimi alone. She might freak out." Luo felt a tiny pang of jealousy seeing how friendly the cat was getting with Nikki. It seemed like the little fluffball was stealing all the attention. Later, as Luo was checking his computer, the thought of his upcoming exam made him super anxious. Out of nowhere, the cat jumped up and ripped off the bandage on his hand, and just like that, boom, he accidentally transformed his mouse into a girl. The mouse girl popped into existence and kicked Luo away when he tried to grab her. Luo had summoned many girls before, but this one was different. She wasn't friendly like the others, and right away, he knew he'd made a mistake. But there was no going back now. The first thing Luo thought was to give her a name, but she didn't seem to care about that and was speaking in some other language. Luo, not really thinking much, decided to call her Mousy. He offered to help her see herself, and she had no idea what she even looked like. Luo wanted her to get off the table, so he told her to check herself out in the mirror that was inside the wardrobe. She was curious, so she got down and started walking towards it. At that moment, Luo remembered he still needed to check his exam results, something he usually did with a computer mouse. He wondered what to do, but then remembered Nikki had been able to call someone in her human form, so maybe Mousy could still help. He found Mousy in front of the mirror, lifting her clothes. Luo quickly stopped her, telling her she couldn't do that in front of a guy. Mousy teased him for getting so worked up. Luo began studying her small human form, wondering if she could really help him with what he needed. Out of nowhere, Mousy got concerned and asked if Luo was some kind of lolicon, thinking her appearance might be exciting him. Luo quickly explained that wasn't the case, but he did need her help to check his results. Mousy then reminded him how tired she was from how he'd been using her non-stop during video games. She agreed to help but on one condition: he had to give her a massage first. Luo felt super awkward just thinking about it. Mousy didn't back down, insisting that after all she'd done for him, it was time for him to pay her back. Luo tried to tell her that he didn't mind giving her a massage, but that boys and girls shouldn't get that close. He thought it might not be appropriate. Mousy completely ignored his reasoning and called him a pervert for even thinking that way. Luo realized there was no getting out of this and agreed to her request. He wasn't sure if his massage skills were any good. He'd only ever massaged his grandparents and his mom before, but he gave it a try. Mousy lay down, and Luo started massaging her. He was being gentle, but then he accidentally touched her leg, and she yelled at him. She quickly told him not to touch her there and called him a pervert again. The whole massage was awkward, with Luo teasing her by pretending to touch the wrong spots on purpose. After a while, Luo finally sat down to check his exam results. Mousy told him to use her head like a computer mouse, and then he'd be able to check. Nervously, Luo did what she said. When he saw his results, he was relieved. He had passed. Luo instantly burst into happiness because now he didn't have to repeat a grade, and his mom wouldn't be mad at him. Mousy didn't get why he was celebrating since he barely passed. Luo had another important task ahead. his summer homework. He was nervous but sat down to study. After a while, though, his head started hurting, and he just couldn't keep going. He looked at his cat and felt jealous of how easy its life was. He started thinking of a way to get his homework done, and suddenly, an idea popped into his head. What if he transformed his pen into a girl who could do his homework for him? He remembered how his teachers used to make fun of him for not being a good student, but he believed things could change now. He thought about the pen he was going to transform, which had been a gift from someone special. So, he removed his bandages and used his power to turn the pen into a girl. When she appeared, Luo felt like he finally had a solution to his homework problem. The girl called Luo a weird name, but he didn't care. Then, she asked him for her name, and Luo felt good since it was the first time someone actually cared about that. He named her Lami, but she wasn't happy with it, realizing it was just the name of a pen brand, pretty unoriginal. She then asked him why he turned her into a human. Luo explained his homework problem and asked for help. Lami listened to him but refused. Luo kept trying to convince her, and eventually, she agreed, but with one condition. Luo awkwardly asked what it was, but Lami didn't know. She told him she'd let him know when she figured it out. She agreed to help but said she would only teach him how to do the homework, which wasn't exactly what Luo wanted. He reminded her that she was his pen and had to do whatever he said, including doing all of his homework. Lami summoned a ruler and gently hit Luo with it, reminding him that she was now his teacher. If he didn't listen to her, things could get worse, and he would have to do the homework himself. Nervously, Luo agreed. They sat down to solve the problems, and after a while, Luo had finished most of his homework and thanked Lami for her help. Lami then got up and went to bed to rest, while Luo still had his biology homework left, his favorite subject. He tried to work on it but found himself struggling. Realizing he still needed help, he woke Lami up and asked her to help with biology. She questioned why he was having trouble with his favorite subject. Luo had no idea why he was struggling, and suddenly, Lami flipped him onto the bed. When Luo asked her what she was doing, she said she was teaching him biology, and Luo quickly fell asleep. Later, when Luo woke up, he found himself in bed, but Lami was gone. He remembered he still had homework to do, but when he went to check, he saw that his homework was already finished. Lami had left a note saying this was the only time she'd help him. Luo then arrived at an important place and felt nervous about going in. When Luo walked in, he was told that his summer job as a lifeguard at the pool had been cancelled, but they had found him a new job as a cleaner. Luo hated it because the whole reason he wanted to be a lifeguard was to look handsome and manly, and cleaning wasn't exactly fun. Still, he went to the job anyway, where he met a man named Zhang, who welcomed him and gave him a uniform. Luo was happy to see how nice and supportive the man was. He changed into the uniform and started cleaning. While cleaning, he noticed two people fighting. Curious, Luo secretly watched to see what was going on. He saw a girl, Zhongyun, with a guy he didn't recognize. The guy seemed to be forcing her into something. Zhongyun kept telling him they had broken up and he should leave her alone. Seeing her struggling, Luo stepped in and stopped the guy from bothering her. Luo told him to stop, but the guy got angry and told Luo to mind his own business. Luo calmly reminded him that they were in a public place where Luo worked, and if the guy didn't leave, he'd have to call for help to kick him out. The guy didn't like Luo's warning, but when Luo started chasing him, he ran off. After the guy left, Luo turned to Zhongyun and asked if she was okay. She looked at him and asked what was up with his uniform and what he was doing there. Luo brushed it off, saying it was just a summer job. Suddenly, it started raining hard, and they both hurried to Luo's car. Once inside, Zhongyun told Luo she couldn't go home yet because she'd get in trouble. So, she asked if she could dry her clothes at his place. It was still raining heavily when they got to Luo's house. Luo told her to make herself comfortable, like it was her own home, and apologized for the mess. Zhongyun didn't care about the mess at all. It was her first time at Luo's place, and she was just happy he had given her shelter from the rain, which meant a lot to her. Luo asked her to sit while he went to get her a cup of warm water. Zhongyun sat down and started playing with Luo's cat. She mentioned she didn't know he had a cat or that he was a cat person. Luo explained that he'd gotten the cat on a whim, and it all happened quickly. He then brought her some dry clothes and suggested she take a shower and change, so she wouldn't get sick. Zhongyun thanked him again, took the clothes, and headed to the bathroom. That's when Luo realized he might have made a mistake by bringing her home. Suddenly, his stomach started to hurt, and he realized he was hungry and needed to make food for both of them. Zhongyun came back from the bathroom after changing, and when Luo saw her, he felt shy because of how pretty she looked. He told her he had made noodles for them to eat, and she agreed. They both sat down to eat, and while they were eating, Zhongyun noticed something. The bowl Luo was using was the one she had given him as a gift a long time ago. She felt happy that he was still using it. Nervously, Luo told Zhang that the pen she gave him had a great grip, which was why he was still using it. Zhang then noticed the bandage on Luo's hand and asked him what happened. Luo couldn't tell her the truth, so he lied and said he had a skin allergy. After they finished eating, Zhang got up and started cleaning the fish. Luo tried to stop her, saying he couldn't let his guest clean in his house, but Zhang told him it was fine. Suddenly, Luo's hand got wet, and he began removing his bandages. At the same time, the cat made Zhang trip, and Luo rushed to save her. By accident, he transformed her clothes into a little girl. Luo, Zhang, and the newly summoned girl sat down to talk. There was an awkward silence before Zhang spoke. She asked Luo for an explanation about what had just happened. She had no idea where the little girl came from and wanted to know the truth. Luo was nervous about telling her, but he agreed to explain as long as she promised not to think he was crazy. Luo told her that the little girl was actually her clothes, and that's why she looked exactly like them. Zhang couldn't believe what she was hearing. She asked how this was even possible, and Luo told her that he had developed a superpower. The word superpower sounded unreal to Zhang, as it didn't seem possible in the real world. She reminded Luo that they didn't live in a comic book, and superpowers weren't a thing. Luo tried to explain that his power allowed him to transform objects into girls. The idea of turning objects into girls was so strange that Zhang didn't know how to process it. Still, Luo asked for her help in keeping his power a secret. Zhang was surprised because she didn't think Luo was the type of person to hide something like that, especially if it was a superpower. But she agreed to keep his secret anyway. Then she asked him what he planned to do with the little girl and how he would take care of her. Luo told her not to worry, as the girl would transform back into clothes after a while. Zhang wanted to ask him something else, but she stopped herself, feeling embarrassed. Instead, she casually asked what time it was. Luo told her it was almost midnight, which made Zhang panic because her parents were strict and wouldn't be happy about her staying out so late. Luo offered to let her stay the night at his place, saying he wouldn't mind the company. The idea was tempting, but Zhang couldn't agree because of her parents. Luo asked what they should do and what the best option was. Zhang said she could stay the night with him, but there was something more important she wanted to tell him. Suddenly, she confessed her feelings and asked Luo to be her boyfriend. Luo was completely caught off guard. He hadn't expected this from Zhang. At the same time, he wondered if maybe he was becoming more popular with girls or if he had always been but never noticed. Luo tried not to get lost in thought because there was an issue right in front of him. Luo asked her why she suddenly wanted him to be her boyfriend and if there was a specific reason. Zhang explained that if he was her boyfriend, her parents wouldn't be upset about her spending the night. Her plan was to use Luo as a way to avoid getting in trouble, making him her fake boyfriend. Hearing the word fake made Luo feel a bit more at ease, and he agreed to help her with the lie. But then she told him that she wanted him to pretend to be her boyfriend during the day too, so that no one would bother her. Luo nervously asked her what she meant by that, as he was only expecting to see her this one time. She reminded him how difficult her ex-boyfriend was, and she believed he would bother her again, so she needed someone to protect her from those situations. Luo couldn't say no to her request and agreed to be her boyfriend. After they made their decision, Zhang asked Luo if he had thought of a name for the girl he had summoned. Luo said he was thinking of naming her Yi. Zhang thought the name Yi was boring and guessed that he only picked it because the girl was originally just a piece of cloth. Luo admitted he wasn't good at naming girls, and Zhang figured he must have given all the summoned girls equally boring names, which was true, and Luo knew it. Luo then mentioned that it was getting late and they should both get some sleep. The next morning, Zhang was ready to leave, and Luo asked if he should walk her out, but Zhang told him it was fine, she could go on her own. She then leaned in and asked Luo if Yi had transformed back into a piece of cloth. Luo was completely shocked by her question. He told her yes, Yi had transformed back. After hearing that, Zhang left, saying she hoped to meet Yi again, and Luo promised he would help make that happen. As Luo watched Zhang walk away, he couldn't stop thinking about how she remembered Yi, even though the girl had returned to her original state as clothing. The only person besides Luo who could remember the girls he summoned was his mom, but that was because they were related by blood. This wasn't the case with Zhang, yet she still remembered the girl. The whole situation made Luo overthink, as he wanted to understand this new detail about his superpower. Luo was sleeping peacefully when suddenly someone knocked on his door. Groggy, Luo went to answer it and saw a little girl standing there. He asked her what was going on. The girl explained that she had invited her friends over to play video games, but her TV wasn't working. She asked if Luo could lend her his TV for the day, and she'd return it afterward. Luo said he didn't mind helping her, but the problem was, he didn't own a TV. The girl was shocked, unable to believe that anyone still lived without a TV. Disappointed, she left, and Luo closed the door. Annoyed, Luo thought about how there was no reason for him to own a TV since he already had a computer monitor. He was about to go back to sleep when someone knocked on the door again. Frustrated, Luo opened it and saw a delivery person with a package for him. When Luo opened the package, he found an old television and a letter from his mom. Luo realized that his mom had sent him her old TV. When he tried to turn it on, the TV didn't work properly. Luo understood that his mom wanted him to fix it, and that was the only way he could use it. He got got an idea and decided to use his superpower to transform the TV into a girl. The girl appeared and immediately recognized Luo as her master, which made him happy. However, Luo noticed that she didn't seem very healthy, which probably explained why the TV wasn't working well in the first place. Luo thought about how some objects last for hundreds of years, while others barely survive a few. This realization changed his perspective, and he promised the TV girl that he would love her no matter what. The girl was happy to know that someone cared about her. Luo then asked if she knew what the outside world was like, but she didn't, as she had only seen it through TV signals. Luo told her he could take her outside if she wanted, and she immediately agreed, excited to go outside right away. Luo was surprised by her eagerness but couldn't say no. He told her he didn't have any plans, so they could go. That was all the TV girl needed to grab Luo's hand and lead him outside. She was thrilled to finally see the world with her own eyes and recognized some places from her memories of TV shows. She pointed out a restaurant, mistaking it for a spot where couples go on dates. Luo, embarrassed, asked her to keep her voice down and not say things like that in public. He knew she was overly excited, so he decided to take her to a nearby shopping mall. There, the girl spotted a dress she liked. Luo noticed and asked if she wanted to try it on. When she did, she looked stunning, so Luo decided to buy it for her as a gift. She was overjoyed and continued to have a great time with Luo. While they were at the mall, a girl approached them and offered them a chance to participate in a cosplay competition. The TV girl had heard of cosplay before, and though she was hesitant, Luo encouraged her to try it, thinking it would be a fun experience. She agreed and started trying on various costumes. Luo was happy to see her enjoying herself. The cosplay girl then asked if they wanted to take a couple's photo, which would be emailed to them. Luo agreed, and they took the photo together. Later, the TV girl told Luo how much fun she had and how happy she was. She said she had no regrets before suddenly vanishing into thin air. Luo sat alone afterward, thinking about the TV girl. Her clothes had disappeared too, and he couldn't stop replaying her words in his mind. Her final words had a big impact on him, and he knew he needed to do something to distract himself. The next day, Luo took Nikki to a shopping mall. When she asked why they were there, Luo told her he wanted to buy her some clothes. Nikki told him she liked the clothes she was wearing because her brother had bought them for her. Luo felt a bit embarrassed since it was only a phone cover. He told her that while her clothes were cute, they were a little boring, and she should get some new ones. Nikki was excited to see all the clothes but had trouble picking something out, so she asked Luo for help. Luo, being a good big brother, started picking out clothes for her. Nikki felt a bit anxious seeing how overly excited Luo was about the shopping. Finally, she tried on an outfit, but when she came out of the changing room, Luo was shocked to see her covered in blood. Luo immediately told Nikki to go back inside the changing room and wait while he brought her a new pair of pants, as he didn't want anyone else to see her like that. That night, Luo was working on his computer when he suddenly felt hungry. The worst part was realizing that he didn't have any food at home since he had already eaten all the noodles. His hunger kept growing, so he decided to go out and buy some food from the market. It was around 11 p.m. when he left, but then he noticed he didn't have his hand bandage. Since he had already transformed Nikki earlier that day, he figured he'd be safe as long as he got back home before midnight. Luo bought some cup noodles, but the thought of eating noodles again didn't sit well with him. That's when he spotted a nearby shop selling steak and rice, and a new idea popped into his head. He checked the time and realized he had enough time to eat there and still make it back home. So, he enjoyed a nice dinner and started walking home. As he looked at his phone, he saw time was running out, so he began walking faster. On the way, he saw a couple flirting in public and thought to himself how irresponsible it was for them to act like that in such an open space. Suddenly, Luo lost his balance and almost fell, but managed to catch himself. However, a bigger problem was waiting for him. He leaned against a wall to stop his fall, and that's when the clock hit midnight. His superpower kicked in, and Luo accidentally transformed the entire building into a girl. The building vanished, leaving everyone confused. Luo found himself falling into a giant hole and ended up next to a girl who looked very innocent. The area was quickly sealed off by the police, and they started questioning everyone. When it was Luo's turn, he told the police he had just been walking by when it all happened. But when they turned to question the building girl, she turned away in a disrespectful manner. Luo stepped in and told the police officer that the girl was his sister, and she was in shock after witnessing such a strange event. After checking Luo's ID, the officer let them go. Luo then hid with the building girl, who didn't seem interested in anything. She mentioned that she recognized him from the time he stopped two car thieves, which jogged Luo's memory. He explained his superpower of turning objects into girls and told her she was one of those transformations. Luo felt guilty about causing the situation, and the girl teased him for being so reckless. This girl had a much less friendly personality compared to the others. As Luo looked around, he noticed a crowd gathering. The couple he had seen earlier was telling everyone that a bright light appeared, the building vanished, and they believed aliens were responsible. This was a big problem for Luo because the crowd would make it impossible for him to fix everything. He needed help. Luo turned to the building girl and asked her for assistance. At first, she wasn't interested, but he explained that staying out in the open would only cause more problems. She eventually agreed, and they came up with a plan. The building girl stepped in front of the crowd and claimed she was actually a spaceship. Luo played along, and together they tricked the crowd into chasing after something that didn't exist. Once the crowd left, the girl transformed back into a building, and no one noticed anything had happened. One day, Luo was at the ship dock, waiting for Zhang. She had won luxurious cruise ship tickets and invited him to join her so they could both have a fun time together. Luo was eagerly waiting alone when suddenly someone covered his eyes. It was Zhang, who had finally arrived. She surprised him, and together they went aboard the ship. The ship was massive, and Zhang was amazed by its enormous size. At the same time, Luo noticed a huge crowd gathering. He overheard people arguing that the ship's captain wasn't allowing anyone to board until the next day due to some problems. Luo and Zhang were disappointed because they didn't know what to do in the meantime. Zhang decided to go shopping, and Luo followed her around. After a while, they were finally able to board the ship, and Zhang immediately lay down on the bed, exhausted. The room only had one bed, which made Luo worry. He asked Zhang where he was supposed to sleep. She offered to let him sleep on the bed with her. Luo quickly refused, saying he couldn't sleep with her because he liked someone else. This surprised Zhang, and she immediately asked about the girl he liked. Luo hesitated to say anything, so Zhang guessed it must be one of his transformations, and Luo couldn't keep up the lie. He finally admitted that it was his smartphone that he liked. Zhang then demanded to meet the girl. Knowing he couldn't win the argument, Luo summoned Nikki, his smartphone. When Nikki appeared, Zhang quickly became friendly with her and told her she could call her sister, suggesting they sleep together on the bed. Nikki, not fully understanding the situation, still asked the right question: where will Big Brother sleep? Zhang jokingly replied that they could fit Luo in the middle, and it would be fine. Luo imagined himself in between the two girls but immediately refused the idea. Nikki then looked around and asked where they were because, according to her, this wasn't Luo's room. Luo explained that they were on a ship because Zhang had won the tickets in a contest. Zhang added that they were in the middle of the sea, but Nikki didn't know what a sea was. Zhang suggested they go outside and see it up close, but Luo reminded them that they should sleep early and watch the sea in the morning when it would be easier to see. However, both Nikki and Zhang ignored his suggestion and went outside anyway. Nikki saw the sea for the first time, and she was thrilled. Luo was happy for her too. She asked Luo to bring her back to the beach in the future, and he agreed. Nikki wandered off to get a closer look but accidentally bumped into two men who started teasing her because of her cute appearance. Zhang stepped in and warned them to back off, but they didn't listen and began teasing both Nikki and Zhang. When Luo tried to intervene, they tossed him aside. Luo felt helpless, but he remembered he had his powers. He pulled out a toy ship he had bought earlier and used his ability. To his surprise, it worked, and he summoned another girl, even though he had already summoned Nikki that day. The guys who were teasing Zhang and Nikki saw the sailor girl appear out of nowhere, and they quickly made her their new target. They called her cute and started teasing her too. The sailor girl stayed calm and didn't seem bothered by their comments, but she asked Luo if he wanted her to teach them a lesson for speaking badly about him. Luo realized he had something special in his hands, so he gave her permission. As soon as he did, the sailor girl swiftly beat the two guys, leaving them on the ground. Hearing the commotion, the ship's caretakers arrived, so Luo and the others quickly ran back to their room. Once they were back, Nikki and Zhang immediately went to sleep, but Luo sat in thought while the sailor girl stared at him. Feeling awkward, he asked her to stop staring and told her it was uncomfortable. She gently asked him if he had any instructions for her, but Luo didn't have any, making the whole situation even more awkward for him. The next morning, Luo woke up to find a toy ship in place of the sailor girl, meaning she had transformed back, and so had Nikki. When he looked at the bed, he saw his smartphone and Zhang still sleeping. He couldn't help but admire Zhang's figure as she slept, but then she suddenly woke up. Luo nervously said, "Good morning," and, too embarrassed to talk further, he ran off to freshen up. Later that morning, while they were having breakfast, an announcement came over the speakers stating the ship would soon arrive in Japan. Luo was surprised because he hadn't bothered to check the tickets and didn't realize they were headed there. Zhang explained they wouldn't stay long in Japan, but Luo was excited anyway since it meant he could buy all his favorite action figures. His excitement was obvious, and Zhang jokingly thought he had lost his mind. Later, Zhang suggested that Luo summon Nikki, saying it was a perfect time for them to spend time together. Luo did as she asked, and once Nikki appeared, Zhang and Nikki went off to explore the cruise ship, with Luo following along. While they were having dinner, they saw a group of people fighting in the dining hall. Afterward, Luo and Zhang finally arrived in Japan. They took a train to explore the country, and Luo was thrilled because his dream of visiting Japan was finally coming true. They visited many places, including famous monuments. After a long and exhausting day, they checked into a hotel, and Luo was even more excited because the room was in traditional Japanese style, just like the ones he had seen in anime. He couldn't stop staring at it. But then Luo noticed there was only one bed in the room, and he started imagining himself sleeping next to Zhang. Zhang, aware of his weird behavior, suggested they visit the hot springs at the hotel. Luo was excited to spend more alone time with Zhang, but his hopes were quickly dashed when Zhang asked him to summon Nikki so she could have someone to join her in the women's hot spring. Luo's plans went out the window, and he had no choice but to do as she asked. Later, the group split up, with Nikki and Zhang going to enjoy the hot springs. While relaxing, Zhang asked Nikki if she was having a good time. Nikki replied that she was enjoying it, but she found the water to be hotter than expected. It was a new experience for her. As they were relaxing, Nikki suddenly noticed Zhang's chest and asked if she could touch it. Zhang was completely shocked by the request. Coming from a smartphone turned girl, it was unexpected. Zhang asked why Nikki would even want to do that, and Nikki explained that her own chest was much smaller, so she was curious about how Zhang's felt. Zhang felt embarrassed but didn't want to disappoint Nikki, so, even though she didn't like the idea, she agreed to let Nikki touch her chest, just once. Nikki touched it, and Zhang immediately let out a weird scream. After that awkward moment, Zhang told Nikki they should leave because it was getting late. Meanwhile, Luo was alone in the men's section of the hot spring, wishing he could be with the girls, but that wasn't happening. After their time in Japan ended, Luo and Zhang boarded a plane to return home. Luo was very nervous and scared, even though he was the one who suggested they upgrade to an airplane for their trip back. He held Zhang's hand tightly, trying to calm his fear, while Zhang struggled to calm him down. She suggested he sleep through the flight, and she'd wake him when they landed. Luo agreed that sleeping might be the best option but insisted on still holding her hand, just to be safe. Luo fell asleep, but when he woke up, his world was turned upside down. Zhang told him the plane was having some kind of problem, and panic was spreading among the passengers. Scared and anxious, Luo feared for his life, but he didn't want to die. Desperate, he removed the bandage on his hand and touched the plane, transforming it into a girl. The girl appeared, but Luo quickly realized he had made a huge mistake. As soon as the plane transformed, everyone, including Luo and Zhang, fell out of the sky, heading for their deaths, until suddenly, Luo woke up. It was just a dream. Luo screamed as he woke up, and everyone on the plane stared at him for his odd behavior. Embarrassed, he quickly told them it was just a nightmare. It was still embarrassing, but much better than actually being in a plane crash. The plane eventually landed safely, and they returned to their home city. Later that night, Luo thanked Zhang for helping him achieve his dream of going to Japan and said he would never forget her kindness. Zhang was happy for him, and Luo asked her if she needed any help getting home. Zhang appreciated his concern but told him her dad was already on his way to pick her up, so she would be fine. A car soon arrived, and the man driving gave Luo a death stare, but didn't say anything. Zhang said goodbye to Luo and left with her dad, though it was clear the dad wasn't a fan of Luo. Luo didn't understand the awkward exchange, but he quickly forgot about it as he headed home. Once home, he grew worried about Mimi, and when he entered his room, he found it completely trashed, with Mimi nowhere to be found. His anxiety skyrocketed. Luo was sound asleep when his phone suddenly rang, waking him up in a grumpy mood. It was Zhang reminding him that it was already 9 a.m. and that he shouldn't sleep in so late. She also mentioned that she had bought a gift for him during their trip to Japan but had forgotten to give it to him. She had sent it in a parcel, and the courier was on the way. Luo was curious about the gift, and just then, the doorbell rang. He rushed to grab the parcel. When he opened it, he found an anime action figure inside. It was the perfect gift for him, and tears of happiness filled his eyes. He couldn't thank Zhang enough for thinking of him. Excited to check out the toy, he pulled it out, but suddenly a bright light appeared, and the toy transformed into a real maid. Luo was in disbelief. His hand was covered in bandages, but when he looked closely, he saw a small gap that must have caused the transformation. The maid girl immediately recognized him as her master. Hearing her say that made Luo even happier because it was his lifelong dream to be called master by a maid. Next, he had to decide on a name for her. He didn't think too hard and just called her Sukiheim, which was the toy's original name. Sukiheim told Luo she didn't mind if he wanted to name her something else, but he was fine with her current name since he wasn't great at naming things. Sukiheim then got up and asked if Luo wanted her to do any household chores because she was ready to serve him. Luo was surprised to learn that she could do chores. Sukiheim was excited and said she would gather her cleaning tools and get to work. Luo didn't know how to react. The whole thing was unexpected. Sukihime quickly cleaned his entire apartment, and it looked better than ever. Luo couldn't believe his eyes. It was amazing to see someone tidy up his messy room. He thanked Sukihime for her hard work and thought about how he should summon her more often to help with household tasks. But why stop there? He could summon more anime girls and create his own personal group of caretakers, living like a king. Sukihime noticed how happy her master was and felt glad for him. Then she asked Luo if there was anything else she could do. Just then, Luo's stomach growled, which gave Sukihime an idea of what to do next. She decided she would feed him, but Luo wondered if she even knew how to cook. Sukihime assured him that a perfect maid should know how to cook, or else she wouldn't be a good maid. She told Luo to wait while she prepared something to eat. She went to the kitchen but quickly returned with a problem. Sukihime explained to Luo that besides noodles, there was nothing else to cook or eat. Luo realized how careless he had been about food. Sukihime had a perfect solution and suggested that she could easily go to the market to buy groceries. But Luo stopped her and asked her to just cook the noodles instead, using eggs from the fridge. Sukihime was skeptical because she thought noodles weren't healthy, but Luo reassured her that it was okay since he was really hungry and promised to buy healthy groceries next time. Sukihime agreed and went back to cooking. Luo waited patiently for her to finish, but then he suddenly heard a luid scream. He rushed to see what was going on and found Sukihime on the ground, wincing in pain because she had accidentally burned her finger. Luo immediately helped her by running cold water over her finger. As he was helping her, Sukihime felt a bit embarrassed because a maid should take care of her master, but here the roles were reversed. She thanked him for his help, and Luo told her he wanted to return the favor for her kindness in cooking lunch for him. In this scene, Luo is loving Sukihime's cooking. He's totally satisfied. Sukihime is thrilled to see her master so happy with her work, and she just wants to serve him even more. Then, when Luo says he wants to take a nap, Sukihime grabs his head and gently lays it on her lap. Luo's completely caught off guard by this and quickly sits up, feeling a bit confused. Sukihime, also confused, asks him if her lap isn't comfy enough for him to sleep on. But before Luo can even come up with a decent excuse, she grabs his head again and puts it right back on her lap. Realizing there's no point in resisting, Luo just gives in and lets her do her thing. Sukihime even starts telling Luo a bedtime story, even though it's just an afternoon nap. Eventually, Luo dozes off, and Sukihime quietly transforms back into her original form, a little figurine. While Luo is napping on the floor like a baby, a strange blonde woman, dressed like some kind of goddess, suddenly appears. She looks at Luo with clear disapproval, then magically pulls a big ball of water out of thin air and chucks it at him. Luo wakes up in a flash, soaking wet. Still confused, he looks around and spots the blonde woman standing there. She introduces herself as Goddess Alice, the very same one from Luo's dream who gave him the power to turn objects into human girls. Blown away by Alice's attitude and, well, her stunning looks, Luo's trying to figure out why she's here in person. But before he can even ask properly, another cup of tea gets dumped on his head. Classic Alice. Still, Luo's left wondering why he was the chosen one. If you thought Alice was just some random goddess handing out superpowers for fun, think again. She finally spills the beans. Turns out Earth is headed straight for disaster, and it's her job to prevent it. Being part of the divine squad that created the entire universe, Goddess Alice is tasked with making sure Earth doesn't get wiped out. But Luo still doesn't get how turning random objects into waifus is supposed to save the world. Getting more annoyed, Alice chucks yet another cup of tea at him. Change the world, she says. Turns out, human greed is driving Earth towards certain destruction. To stop it, Alice has chosen 3 heroes to carry out her mission and save the world before it's too late. And wouldn't you know it, Luo is one of the 3 chosen heroes. Out of all the serious, world-ending stuff Goddess Alice just told him, the only thing running through Luo's head is, wait, am I the main character in some epic action anime now? Instead of worrying about how he's supposed to save the world, Luo's more excited about meeting the other 2 heroes. But all Alice does is give Luo a boost to his powers, then she just dips, disappearing into thin air. Now, with no one to ask, Luo feels totally abandoned. Still confused about how his powers are supposed to save the planet, Luo ends up falling asleep. Moments later, he wakes up inside a dream. He's floating in outer space in his astral form. There, he runs into Goddess Alice again, but this time, there are 2 other people with her. That's when Alice shows them something that completely changes their perspective. Using her cosmic-level powers, she projects the future of Earth, a vibrant, living planet turning into a barren wasteland, with no life, and the extinction of the entire human race. Luo and the 2 other mysterious people are totally stunned and horrified. But it's up to them whether the planet ends up like that or if they can somehow save it. Alice is seriously relying on these 3 to change the future. To make it even more intense, she gives them 1 year to save Earth. If they fail, Alice won't lift a finger, and humanity will be left to perish. Luo wakes up from the dream, gasping for air like he just had the worst nightmare of his life, though it feels more like a glimpse into what's coming. Unbelievably, Luo still managed to get some sleep. He probably wouldn't have woken up if it weren't for his cat, Mimi, who decided to yank off his bandage. Then, his phone rings. Luo checks it and sees a text from his mom inviting him over for lunch. But something weird catches Luo off guard, not his mom's message, but the fact that even though his bandage came off, his phone didn't transform into Nikki. It only changes into Nikki after Luo says her name out loud. Turns out, he's now got full control of his power. Not only can he choose whether or not to transform something, but he can also change it back to its original form whenever he wants. But even with this major upgrade to his abilities, there's still nothing that could save Luo from his mom's fury if he skips lunch at her house. So off he goes, speeding like the wind. On his way to his mom's place, Luo runs into a drunk guy in the elevator. The dude stinks of alcohol, which is already bad enough, but then he starts kicking the elevator, complaining that it's moving too slow. The drunk guy keeps kicking and making a scene, and Luo tries to say something, but it's no use. Totally annoyed, Luo decides to use his power and transforms the entire elevator. Just as he's about to leave, he hears the drunk guy crying and banging around inside the elevator shaft. Feeling kinda guilty, Luo changes the elevator back to normal and heads out. One thing's for sure, the drunk guy definitely won't be causing trouble again anytime soon. Luo grabs a cab, and, as luck would have it, the driver is super hot. He hops in, heads to his destination, and gets out, thanking the gorgeous driver as he goes. Everything seems fine, until a wild Jianyun appears. Jianyun gives Luo a look, totally disapproving. She points at him, then at the car, and finally at the driver, obviously jumping to some weird conclusions. Things get even weirder when Jianyun, clearly irritated, demands an explanation. She's all over Luo, asking why he's getting out of a fancy Benz with a hot driver like they've got something going on. Seeing the awkward situation unfold, the female driver steps in and explains the whole thing, clearing up the misunderstanding. Jianyun finally gets it, and the driver waves goodbye, driving off with a smile, probably a little envious of their lively energy. With all the weirdness cleared up, Jianyun's friend Tao Zi, who's been standing there the whole time, asks who this guy is. Jianyun quickly explains that Luo is an old high school classmate, and she introduces Tao Zi to him. But then, out of nowhere, things take another strange turn. A robbery happens nearby while they're casually talking. The three of them hear a scream and spot two robbers snatching a lady's purse in broad daylight. And just like that, the weirdness keeps piling up. Out of nowhere, a speeding car comes flying in and hits the two robbers, sending them both flying. The robbers are badly injured, and the police get involved. Everyone on the scene freaks out about the accident, except for Luo, who notices something even weirder. He spots a glowing light inside the car that hit the robbers. And off in the distance, he sees a mysterious guy in a black hoodie, with his hand glowing with the same light. Without thinking, Luo takes off, chasing after the hooded man. The guy tries to get away, turning a corner. Luo keeps running after him, but when he reaches the corner, the man is gone. There's nothing there but a dead end, like the guy just vanished into thin air. Luo's sure of what he saw though. This wasn't some random accident. All Luo wants is to ask the mysterious guy why he did it and whether Goddess Alice sent him too. But his chance is gone. So, Luo turns back and returns to Jianyun and Tao Zi. The scene of the failed robbery is now packed with more people. When Luo gets back, Jianyun and Tao Zi are waiting, clearly worried. Jianyun asks why Luo ran off, but he dodges the question by asking one of his own. It's the first time Jianyun's ever experienced something like this, and she's really freaked out. Luo tries to reassure her, saying the police will handle everything. But before Luo can fully calm her down, he spots the mysterious guy again, standing in the crowd of bystanders. Without hesitation, Luo dashes off to chase him, leaving Jianyun and Tao Zi behind. Just like before, the guy disappears, vanishing without a trace. The police arrive and start questioning the victim and everyone who saw what happened, including Jianyun, Tao Zi, and Luo. Jianyun goes first, explaining what she saw, and then the police turn to Luo, asking if he has anything to add. Luo tells them he was just with the others and would be repeating the same story. The police seem disappointed but let the three of them go. Luo continues on his way to his mom's house, only to run into something even scarier. His mom, casually wearing a black face mask in the middle of the day. Later, after lunch at his mom's house, Luo is walking back to his apartment. It's a peaceful afternoon stroll, until a truck comes barreling toward him. Luo quickly spots the truck and sees that the driver has fallen asleep at the wheel. He has to think fast. Noticing an excavator parked by the side of the street, Luo uses his power and transforms the heavy machine. The excavator turns into a petite blonde teen, who cheerfully introduces herself as the excavator princess. But Luo, in a rush, skips the introductions and desperately asks her for help. The excavator princess steps up and faces the oncoming truck head-on. With just one hand, she stops the truck in its tracks and casually pushes it off onto the sidewalk. Luo is completely blown away, amazed by how insanely strong this little blonde girl really is. But what the excavator princess noticed would shock Luo even more. She tells him this accident wasn't just random. She sensed traces of magic, like someone was controlling the truck, aiming it at Luo. This instantly reminded Luo of the strange event earlier that day. Before he could fully piece it all together, more bystanders started to gather. Luo quickly pulls the excavator princess aside, thanking her for saving his life. He asks her to transform back into her normal form. Understanding that staying in her human form might cause more trouble, she returns to being heavy machinery. Luo sneaks away from the scene, unaware that a mysterious woman has been watching him the whole time. He finally makes it home safely, but things just keep getting weirder. Every light in his house is on. There's no sign of a break-in, and nothing seems to be missing, but Luo's still freaked out. Did I forget to turn them off, or is someone messing with me? To his shock, he hears noise coming from the bathroom. Nervously, Luo inches toward the door, about to open it, when suddenly, it swings open, and standing there, in his bathroom, is none other than Goddess Alice. To top it off, she's just casually wrapped in a towel. Luo, completely caught off guard, struggles to process the situation. Between her unexpected visit and, well, her appearance, he's seriously flustered. Shaking off his initial surprise, he asks why the goddess is in his house. Goddess Alice gets straight to the point, or not. First, she tells Luo to restock his shower gel next time. The weirdness of this whole situation leaves Luo feeling awkward. Trying to change the subject, Luo asks if she's cold, standing there in just a towel. Teasing him, Goddess Alice fires back, saying Luo just wants to see her in different outfits. This totally embarrasses Luo, and his mind goes straight to, well, cultural thoughts. Alice, clearly seeing right through him, magically changes into a stylish outfit that's super cute, making Luo's jaw drop. Breaking the ice again, Alice moves things along, and Luo finally remembers the important stuff he wanted to ask. Luo explains everything that happened that day, the robbery, how he chased the mysterious guy, and the moment he almost became a Luo sandwich under the truck. He tells her everything. Then he asks if those incidents were caused by other magic users like him, and if so, what's their motive? Goddess Alice pauses for a moment, then refuses to answer his question. Now Luo feels even more uneasy. Why isn't she telling him anything? Especially when he's worried about whether these other magic users are allies or enemies. But what's really unsettling is Alice's next response. She tells Luo that she doesn't care whether the three chosen heroes work together or against each other. If they don't complete their mission in a year, humanity will be wiped out, including Luo and the other two magic users. Her words send chills down Luo's spine. Trembling, he nervously asks her if, as a goddess, she could just save the world herself. But then, Goddess Alice turns downright terrifying. She declares, almost like she's gone off the deep end, that humans have to save themselves. She has no intention of helping them or stepping in because she believes humans are either naturally evil or become that way due to their circumstances. These words cut into Luo's mind like a knife, and even though it's disturbing, a part of him gets what she's saying. Still, the goddess gives poor Luo a hint. She brings up the robbery from earlier and then uses her powers to show Luo a vision. In the vision, Luo sees how people turn to crime after being victims of it themselves. The two guys from earlier decided to rob someone after they had been mugged by others. It's a vicious, endless cycle. After showing Luo the vision, Goddess Alice tells him that the chain of crime has been broken, thanks to the accident that killed those two robbers. Basically, she's implying that the powers she gave him and two others are meant to be used to take out bad people, just like what happened to those robbers. Luo is horrified, shocked, and disgusted. He quickly apologizes to Goddess Alice and says he can't go around committing such terrible acts. He can't just decide who's bad and take their lives because society thinks they're scum. Luo's a regular guy who believes in law and justice, not playing executioner. But the goddess tricked him by saying she'd give him the authority to do so as her servant. Luo flat out rejects this. He demands that she take back the power she gave him, right there on the spot. But all of Luo's determination, his sense of justice, it means nothing. It turns out this was just a test from Goddess Alice to see if Luo was worthy. But not all is lost. Luo gets promoted to a higher rank because of how he handled it. Whether that's a good thing or not for him, well, that's still up in the air. With things calm for the moment, Luo takes the chance to ask the goddess about the true nature of his powers. But in classic fashion, Goddess Alice admits she doesn't really know. She explains that the three chosen ones only received a small part of her power, so she has no clue what abilities they actually got. Not exactly what you'd expect from a powerful goddess, right? But suddenly, Alice points to the door and asks Luo if he knows who's at the door. Not only does she know someone's there, but she also knows it's a woman before anyone even knocks. Luo checks through the peephole and, sure enough, sees Jong-un standing there. Luo freaks out. He wasn't expecting her to show up, especially with the goddess still in his apartment. Panicking, Luo stalls for time, telling Jong-un to wait a minute because he's still putting on his pants. Meanwhile, he's desperately trying to signal to the goddess to either hide or disappear, but Goddess Alice couldn't care less about being seen. With no other options, Luo opens the door for Jong-un before she starts jumping to her usual wild conclusions. Sure enough, as soon as she walks in, she spots Goddess Alice, who, surprise, surprise, has very seductive looks. Zhang Yuan's expression says it all. Didn't Luo just say he was putting on his pants? And now there's a smoking hot woman in his living room? Yep, here we go again. Zhang Yuan's mind races to the wildest conclusions, as usual. So, what card are you gonna play this time, Luo? And just like that, Luo pulls out the "she's my cousin" card. Zhang Yun totally buys it and believes that Goddess Alice is just Luo's cousin. Once again, Luo gets away with it. But now, Zhang Yun is bothered by how, well, big Goddess Alice is compared to her. The difference is huge. Still, Zhang Yun isn't backing down without a fight, so she introduces herself and, while doing so, tries to subtly puff out her chest to make herself look, you know, a little bigger. Goddess Alice plays along and introduces herself as Xiaoyi, still keeping up the cousin act. As they're talking, Luo's cat, Mimi, strolls up and interrupts their conversation. While Zhang Yun starts petting Mimi, Xiaoyi suddenly yanks on the poor cat's tail, hard. Mimi reacts by scratching her. Of course, Zhang Yun and Luo are totally shocked, while Xiaoyi looks like she's about to explode with rage. Luo nervously tries to explain that Mimi's scratch was just a natural reaction, but Zhang Yun isn't focused on that. She's more concerned with treating Xiaoyi's scratch than figuring out who was right or wrong. Luo, realizing he doesn't have any first aid stuff in the house, quickly heads out to buy some. While he's gone, Zhang Yun sees this as her chance to have a little girl talk with Xiaoyi. Zhang Yun starts telling Xiaoyi about some of her favorite memories with Luo. Things are going smoothly until Xiaoyi decides to tease Zhang Yun, saying she must have a crush on Luo. This totally flusters Zhang Yun, and she blushes bright red, scrambling to think of how to handle the situation. Xiaoyi notices how red Zhang Yun's face is getting and asks her if she's feeling okay. Just as things are getting awkward, Luo comes back and casually asks what they were talking about since Zhang Yun looks so happy. Zhang Yun panics and quickly says it was just some regular girl talk. Then, Xiaoyi, clearly enjoying herself, teases her again by saying, "Oh, Zhang Yun's got a crush on Luo." But before Zhang Yun can get too flustered, she quickly changes the subject, bringing up Xiaoyi's scratch and how they should treat it. After patching up Xiaoyi's scratch, Luo gets a little more serious and asks Zhang Yun why she came by. The mood shifts as Zhang Yun explains how she got a weird call from a cop about the robbery earlier. She says this so-called policeman asked her strange questions, like what Luo's involvement was in the incident. Zhang Yun kept telling him that they were just bystanders, but the cop kept insisting that maybe Luo was somehow involved. Luo finds it really odd that this policeman is so eager to tie him to the incident. Zhang Yun warns Luo to be extra careful from now on. Meanwhile, Xiaoyi listens closely, and it's clear she thinks this is strange too. It's getting late, so Zhang Yun decides it's time to head home. She says goodbye to Luo and Xiaoyi, and just as she's about to leave, Luo calls her name and thanks her. Zhang Yun blushes again and waves goodbye before heading out. Once Luo's back inside, a very anxious Goddess Alice warns him. She couldn't sense it completely, but she's certain that the call Zhang Yun got is a bad sign, and Luo needs to watch out. Luo gets a warning from Goddess Alice, telling him that he should be extra aware and cautious from now on. She also points out that he's already come across these policemen more than once, but Luo, with his goldfish memory, can't remember meeting them anywhere else besides the robbery incident. The goddess isn't surprised by this and just tells him to be careful moving forward. What is surprising, though, is that Goddess Alice is planning to stay at Luo's place indefinitely, starting that night. Without any hesitation, she heads straight for Luo's bed and makes herself comfy. Since Luo can't really stop the goddess from doing whatever she wants, he just lets it slide. Instead, he grabs a bite to eat and calls it a night. Morning rolls around, and Bigu, the blanket, is demanding a hug from Luo because he's been ignoring her lately. While Bigu is all cuddled up with him, out pops Lamy, the fountain pen, who also wants some cuddle time. And if that wasn't enough, Gray, his underwear, shows up too, demanding the same attention as the other two. So now Luo is stuck in a bizarre situation, with these three girls all fighting for his affection. Lucky or pitiful, you decide. But then, Luo wakes up. Turns out, it was all just a crazy dream. And standing before him is none other than Goddess Alice. She announces that today, Luo will be starting his training to level up his superpower. A little shocked and definitely a bit scared, Luo asks what kind of training she's talking about, but the goddess doesn't give him any details. She just says he'll have to wait and see for himself. Before all that, though, they share a nice breakfast. Luo takes this chance to ask Goddess Alice for a favor. He wants her to keep up the Xiaoyi, my cousin, act whenever they're around other people. Since it's not a big deal to her, she agrees without hesitation. The idea of having the goddess as his cousin, even just pretending, actually makes Luo kind of happy. He starts wondering what it would be like to have a younger relative. Out of nowhere, Luo remembers an old memory of a little girl. Goddess Alice notices him zoning out and asks what's on his mind. Luo opens up about a memory from when he was 8 years old. He had a younger sister, but she passed away shortly after she was born. He can't remember how she died, but he knows for sure he had a sibling. What's even stranger is that his parents can't seem to remember how she died either. Goddess Alice gets curious about this and decides to use her powers to look into the world's records. Luo was seriously blown away by the goddess's insane ability to just scroll through the world's memories like they were her TikTok feed. But even with all her god-level powers, Alice couldn't find a single trace of Luo ever having a sister. Luo was straight up shocked that even a literal goddess was struggling with this mystery from his past. But she reassured him, "Don't sweat it, I'll look into it for you," and then hit him with a warning. His tab with her was getting real hefty. Now, Luo was low-key freaking out. What kind of payment was she expecting? But, apparently, getting that answer meant Luo needed some next-level power. And guess where his superpower training was happening? A glass-bottom bridge, a death trap for anyone who hates heights. And guess what? Luo's got a massive phobia of heights, so this was just perfect? Sarcasm fully intended. As Luo's trying not to pass out from the view below, a scream cuts through the air. Some chick is losing her mind, not because of the terrifying see-through bridge, but because some creeper apparently grabbed her butt. Her boyfriend rushes over to confront the guy, but the perv straight up denies it. The girl's not having any of it though, swearing up and down that he touched her. And just when you think the guy's gonna keep denying it, he switches it up and starts saying the girl probably liked it. Gross. The boyfriend's not having that and throws a punch, but the perv catches it like he's in some action movie, knees the poor guy in the gut, and just starts wailing on him. It's brutal. Luo, who's totally had enough of this weirdo, steps in to try and break it up. But Luo's not exactly a fighter, so the perv slaps him across the face and shoves him aside like he's nothing. Luo stumbles into the railing, and then, bam! His phone goes flying out of his pocket, bouncing on the glass before plummeting into the abyss below. And that's no ordinary phone either, it's Nikki's phone, the one with all the memories. Luo's heart just breaks, his anger building like crazy. He grabs the perv by the collar, and instead of apologizing, the guy has the nerve to offer him money, like Luo's some kind of cheap sell loot. Luo's rage hits a whole new level. He's like, "Bro, no amount of money's gonna fix this." But the perv just pushes him off and starts mocking him for getting all emotional over a phone. Then, something snaps in Luo. His whole vibe changes, dark, cold, and seriously dangerous. While the perv keeps running his mouth, Luo, almost on autopilot, grabs him by the neck. With zero effort, he lifts the guy with one hand and yeets him off the bridge like it's nothing. The perv's scream fades into the distance as he falls, and Luo? He's just standing there, laughing like a maniac. Everyone else on the bridge? Totally freaking out, screaming. They just watched a dude get thrown to his death right in front of them, and Luo's standing there, acting like it's the most normal thing in the world. So, to get things under control, the goddess Alice straight up freezes time and slaps Luo across the face, hard. Like, whoa, talk about a wake-up call. Luo blinks back to reality and is like, what just happened? Alice fills him in on the drama, including the part where he just committed murder. Luo is totally blown away and freaking out about what he just did. Then Alice chimes in, reminding Luo that, oh yeah, he's hanging out with a goddess, no big deal. She's all like, so, what do you want me to do about this mess? Luo, being super dramatic, says he wants to turn back time. But here's the catch, messing with time comes with some heavy consequences. If Alice reverses time even for just 3 minutes, it could cost Luo his life. But Luo's all in, ready to trade his life to bring Nikki back, no hesitation. Seeing how serious he is, Alice agrees and rewinds time 3 minutes. Suddenly, Luo is back at the moment when the victim's boyfriend is about to confront the perv. He checks his pockets and, oh snap, his phone is back. A huge smile spreads across his face. But then he notices that Alice looks pretty worn out, like she just ran a marathon or something. He asks if she's okay, but she's like, no time for chit-chat, we gotta handle this situation. Luo doesn't waste a second. He straight up kicks the molester in the back and calls security faster than you can say, justice served. The guards swoop in and haul the creep away, and then Luo and Alice dip out together. But Alice looks even more tired than before. She asks if Luo can take her somewhere private to chill, so he finds a hotel nearby. Once they're settled, Luo's worried sick about Alice, especially when she collapses on the bed looking weak and vulnerable. Instead of resting, though, she starts spilling the tea about what she discovered earlier. Apparently, someone in the crowd was messing with Luo's mind and basically made him go berserk and murder the perv. But when she reversed time, that shady magic user was MIA. Luo's completely stunned and has a million questions, but Alice just reminds him they're there to focus on his training. She dives right in and asks Luo about all the emotions he felt after his phone took a nosedive off the bridge. He's like, dude, it was a total roller coaster of negative feelings. That's when Alice realizes that Luo actually has some legit feelings for Nikki, His phone. Luo admits it, saying he feels this deep connection and companionship toward her and everything he's transformed. Then Alice hits him with another question, asking why he thinks he can transform animated objects. That really gets Luo thinking and leads him to this sad realization. He's been craving companionship his whole life. Growing up, his parents were always too busy to pay him any attention, so he's felt super alone for ages. He longs for that love, care, and connection. Basically, he just wants to feel like he belongs somewhere. It's all this loneliness that's made being alone feel like his new normal. So, Goddess Alice tells Luo that his subconscious desires kicked into gear after he snagged a fragment of her power. That's what gives him the ability to turn random objects into living beings to keep him company. But Luo's all like, why can I only transform things into girls? And then the guilt hits him hard when Alice points out how obsessed he is with collecting those cute little figurines. As time goes on, Alice starts looking weaker, and Luo's worries just keep piling up. No earthly doctor or magic medicine can help a goddess, which leaves Luo feeling pretty helpless. So, Alice decides to head back to her astral realm and tells Luo to hang tight. While he's waiting, Luo jumps in the shower, just trying to chill, when suddenly there's a luid crash that interrupts his bath time. Wrapped in a towel, he bolts to the bedroom and finds Alice unconscious and covered in wounds. Panic sets in as he desperately tries to wake her up. When she finally comes to, Luo's like, "What happened to you?" Alice explains that she got her but kicked in a one-sided fight in the astral realm because she was poking around too much. Luo's like, "Wait, what do you mean, too careless about giving powers to humans?" But he doesn't press for answers because all he can think about is how to help her. But again, no earthly doctor can save a goddess like Alice. Seeing Luo's desperate need to help, Alice asks him one last time if he's ready to do whatever it takes. Luo's all in, following her every instruction to try and heal her. Then, in a total twist, Alice kisses Luo, and he's caught totally off guard. But this kiss isn't for fun, it's to drain his energy. Luo drops to his knees as this bright glow radiates from Alice's body. All her wounds heal up like magic, and she gets her strength back, while Luo suddenly passes out and gets whisked away into a dream state. In this dream, he hears a woman's voice questioning his presence, and to his shock, it's a seriously wounded Alice. With a glowing spear sticking out of her chest, she asks Luo if he'd be sad if she died. Confused, Luo's like, "What are you talking about?" But she presses him to answer straight up. He pours his heart out, telling her how much she means to him and then asks why she's in such bad shape. Alice explains that, thanks to her screw-up, one of those magic users got god-level powers and totally disrespected her. Her explanation turns into her final words, and just like that, Goddess Alice fades away. Luo wakes up shouting her name, realizing it was just a dream and that Alice is right there, sleeping soundly beside him. He feels this huge wave of relief wash over him, and then he thinks, okay, I need to take care of my own body now. But as he steps out of the bathroom, Alice greets him with a smile and asks where he's been. Luo's just stoked to see Goddess Alice looking all better, so he's like, "Hey, wanna grab a bite?" But she's not feeling food. She just wants something cold to drink. Too bad the hotel's fresh out of options, so Luo decides to hit the streets and grab some food and drinks for them. He tells Alice to chill for a bit while he's gone, and she's surprisingly obedient about it. As he strolls down the busy street, though, he can't shake off that nagging feeling about his dream. Was it some kind of premonition or warning that trouble was coming? Just then, the mouth-watering smell of food wafts by and, poof, all his worries fade away. 2 days later, Luo's still thinking about that chat he had with Alice about her potential death in his dream. Alice brushed it off, saying as a goddess, she can't just be taken out like that. But Luo can't help but worry, especially since the dream felt way too real. Still, seeing Alice all good and healthy puts him in a better mood. As Luo continues with his day, he gets hit with a wave of nostalgia, remembering the time he almost lost Nikki forever. To lift his spirits, he decides to summon her. The second she pops into existence, Nikki jumps into Luo's arms, all smiles and excitement, missing him like crazy. Luo feels the same, and they share this sweet moment together. But just as things get all romantic, Goddess Alice interrupts with her playful teasing. She tells Luo he needs to whip up some food for them. Luo jumps into action, cooking up a hearty meal. Afterward, he asks Alice what's on the agenda for training today, but she hits him with a surprise. No plans for training. Luo's taken aback. He figures Alice would want to dive into human culture more, and he's about to be even more shocked by her next request. Despite being a goddess, Alice just wants to do something totally ordinary, go shopping. Luo stands there for a second, processing this new side of her, and then they're off to the town's marketplace, the same spot where he and Nikki had their first date. Nikki starts reminiscing about their sweet memories in that place, and Luo's heart just melts. He gets lost in thought, and Nikki's like, "What's up? You good?" Just hearing her sweetness makes him swoon even more. Meanwhile, Alice is just trying to figure out what food to hit first, but the real dilemma for her is who's picking up the tab today. Luo, trying to be all cool, announces he'll cover everything, but secretly he's like, please don't blow my whole monthly budget in one go. But Alice's heart is big, and she's totally reasonable about it. The trio finds themselves at this grilling stand, and Xiaoying takes her time checking out each skewer like it's an art exhibit, telling Luo and Nikki to pick whatever they want. While they're browsing, Nikki suddenly gets a little anxious about the barbecue sizzling away on the coals. She looks at Luo, and he can't help but chuckle at how adorable she is. Don't worry, I got your back, he reassures her. The sizzling and crackling of the charcoal had Nikki looking adorably scared. Luo leaned in, all reassuring, telling her he'd protect her no matter what. But then, out of nowhere, Xiaoyi goes MIA. After a mini treasure hunt, they finally track her down, and the three decide to take a breather and chill for a bit. Luo can't help but scold Xiaoyi for running off without giving them a heads up, but she just rolls her eyes. I mean, come on, she's not a kid, she's a goddess. Bad luck to anyone trying to mess with her. While Luo's busy scolding Xiaoyi, Nikki pipes up and asks for the same food they had on their first date. Instantly, Luo goes all lovey-dovey again, like he's in a rom-com. Xiaoyi, on the other hand, can't hide her Luozi watching these two. So, off they go to the stuffed crepe stand, courtesy of Nikki's request. When the stuffed crepe finally lands on their table, Nikki dives right in, and you can practically see her happiness radiating. Xiaoyi gets curious and decides she wants to give it a go too, but with a twist, she wants bananas mixed in. The cook's up for the challenge, and he whips it up with some serious flair. Voila! Xiaoyi's stuffed crepe with bananas arrives, and after just one bite, her eyes light up like she just found out it's her birthday. Just when things are going great for Luo, Nikki, and Xiaoyi, a lurid ruckus nearby catches their attention. A female vendor is getting her by three annoying hooligans who just won't take a hint. Xiaoyi nudges Luo, signaling him to step in and help, and he's like, you got it. Sneaking up quietly, Luo transforms a nearby trash bin into something epic. In a flash of blinding light, a small girl with pigtails appears, catching the hooligans off guard. The hooligans start laughing, thinking they can bully this little girl, but they have no idea. This trash bin princess packs a punch, like a serious one. She takes one of the dudes down, breaking a finger with one swing. The other two, trying to team up, get taken out just as fast. But the trash bin princess isn't done yet. She channels her power and gathers up all the trash around, creating a cyclone of garbage. The three hooligans get swept up in the whirlwind of trash, and when it's all over, they're lying there in a heap of garbage. The crowd goes wild, cheering for the trash bin girl and her impressive show of strength. The grateful vendor thanks her too, and with all the excitement, people swarm around the trash bin princess, making it impossible for Luo to change her back without anyone catching on. Luo looks at Xiaowei for help, but she's like, nah, I'm good. So he turns to Nikki, who's more than happy to jump in. She works her way through the crowd, pretending to be the trash bin princess's sister. At first, it's a little confusing, but the trash bin princess goes along with it and names Nikki Xiaotan. Just like that, Nikki manages to whisk Xiaotong away from the scene. Luo hides Xiaotong in a low-key spot and tells her to transform back to her normal self. But for the first time, one of Luo's transformations straight up refuses to cooperate and takes off like a shot. Xiaotong bolts, and Luo's all like, wait, come back. But she's already vanished into the crowd, and he's left scrambling after her. He weaves through people, desperately hoping to catch up. Luo's searching high and low, and just when he thinks he's got a handle on things, he bumps into this mysterious girl. You know, the one who was lurking in the shadows when he almost got squashed by a truck? Yep, that's her. What's wild is that they actually know each other. The mysterious girl greets Luo, and he returns the favor, but she's got some urgent business and bounces before he can even ask what's up. Then out of nowhere, Xiaoyi pops up behind him, giving him a mini heart attack. She asks if he managed to catch Xiaotong, but Luo's pretty much flopped that mission. After giving him a disappointed look, Xiaoyi has to spoon-feed him a hint. She mentions one of his upgraded abilities that can help track down his summoned girls. So Luo gives this magical GPS thing a shot, and boom, he spots a magic trail leading right to Xiaotong. Following the trail like it's his own personal treasure map, Luo finally catches up to Xiaotong. But she's still trying to play the victim, making a scene and claiming Luo's harassing her. He rolls his eyes and declares that she's just his super stubborn cousin who won't go home. Backed against a wall, Xiaotong has no choice but to obey Luo's commands and transform back. But of course, she's got to negotiate. She's not down to go back to being a trash bin. Luo tries to explain that her wish is, like, totally unrealistic. But with one last push, Xiaotong hits him with a bombshell. She wants him to adopt her instead. Luo's just standing there, completely dumbfounded. He tries to talk sense into her, but she's not having it, insisting that he's now responsible for her. Luo tries to explain that a trash bin-sized girl won't fit anywhere in his place, but Xiaotong takes that as total discrimination. She turns on her cute, innocent act to bait Luo into adopting her. But Luo is all, no way. Xiaotong, feeling betrayed, starts dropping some heavy truths about her life as a trash bin. She talks about how neglected she was and how humans treated her like garbage, pun intended. She spent her whole life in a filthy environment with no one giving a hoot about her upkeep. Luo's heart sinks because he realizes she's not wrong. He can't help but feel bad for her, but Xiaotong isn't interested in his pity. She reminds him that he used her to teach those hooligans a lesson and then planned to just toss her aside. For her, Luo is just another loser in the world. Luo feels super guilty, she's made a solid point, and he knows he needs to figure out a way for this to work out for everyone. Time to get creative and find a win-win solution. After a bit, Luo finally hatches a plan. With a grin that could rival your typical creeper, he invites Xiaotong to come with him to a better place. What he's really talking about is taking her to a health spa. Luo figures a nice, long soak would be just what Xiaotong needs to clean herself up. I mean, who wouldn't want to indulge in a little spa day, right? He insists that she can wash to her heart's content, and he'll cover all the costs. Curious about what a proper bath feels like, Xiaotong goes along with Luo's idea. He rents 2 rooms, one for himself and one for Xiaotong and the goddess Alice. While he's checking in, Xiaotong is totally blown away by how sparkling, clean and shiny the lobby is. Luo calls her over before she draws too much attention, and they head straight to their rooms. Then Luo turns to goddess Alice and asks her to keep an eye on Xiaotong since it'd be a bit weird for him to take her to the men's area. But goddess Alice teases that Xiaotong could totally pass as a boy since she's so flat. Luo quickly shuts that down because, let's be real, Xiaotong is definitely a girl, no matter how you slice it. Eventually, the goddess agrees to help out, probably just to say thanks for Luo treating them. Before heading out, Luo gives Xiaotong a little pep talk about listening to goddess Alice and not causing any more chaos like she did at the marketplace. But Xiaotong's had it with Luo's nagging. She fires back, saying he's way too annoying for his own good, and no wonder he's still single. Ouch, that one stings. Even though Luo tries to claim he's got Nikki as his girlfriend, Xiaotong's words hit hard and leave him feeling a little crushed. Once they hit the bath area, Luo instantly feels the tension melt away in the soothing water. But that chill vibe doesn't last long. The mere thought of being surrounded by a bunch of older guys makes him super uncomfortable. So, he starts picturing a fantasy where he's surrounded by nothing but women. For a cultured guy like Luo, it's just normal wishful thinking. Meanwhile, Xiaotong is like a kid in a candy store, totally amazed by everything in the women's bath. She tries to play with goddess Alice, but Alice is all zen and composed, totally unbothered. Bored out of her mind, Xiaotong starts looking around and spots a weird-looking pool of water. The color catches her eye, and before she knows it, she takes a sip, only to instantly regret it. "Oh, that's not for drinking," says the goddess. So, in one swift move, Alice tosses Xiaotong into the water. Back in the sauna, Luo's experience isn't any better. The room is packed with steam and the overwhelming scent of sweaty dudes. To cope, he dives into his cultural fantasies again, imagining all the guys are actually women. Luo can't help but drool at the thought of being surrounded by half women. Meanwhile, other guys in the sauna are giving him the side eye, probably thinking he's lost it since drool is literally streaming down his face. The sauna experience of goddess Alice and Xiaotong is not without strangeness. So, first off, the 2 ladies roll into the sauna, and it's clear neither of them really knows what a sauna is all about. Goddess Alice is just chillin', waiting for the heat to kick in, while Xiaotong is straight up bored, thinking the sauna a total waste of time. Then, 2 random women waltz in, trying to strike up a convo with them. But with Xiaotong's cluelessness and Alice's blissed-out vibe, it turns into the weirdest sauna experience ever. I mean, how do you chat with a goddess and a trash bin? After a bit of awkward silence, the heat starts to get to Xiaotong, but the goddess insists they've still got 20 minutes left to soak up all the sauna goodness. Xiaotong growing restless, and then she notices goddess Alice's well-developed figure and gets this wild idea. Suddenly, she jumps up and snatches Alice's towel like it's a game. This little troublemaker thinks it'll be hilarious to mess with a goddess. Xiaotong starts teasing Alice, demanding an apology, but Alice just stands up, completely naked, and tells Xiaotong to start saying her prayers. It's chaos. Xiaotong gets so flustered that she practically floods the room with water, towel, and all. Meanwhile, Luo is just wrapping up his bath when he hears this crazy racket coming from the women's side. And guess who's the cause of all the ruckus? Yup, it's Xiaotong, running for her life while goddess Alice is hot on her heels, throwing everything she can grab at the little troublemaker. With Alice chasing her like she's out for blood, Xiaotong finally gives up and tosses the towel back at the goddess. Alice, being all graceful and chill, wraps the towel around herself like it's no big deal, as if nothing just happened. But now, it's time for Xiaotong's punishment. I mean, she kinda asked for it, right? Alice finally snaps. She's had enough. She activates her powers, and just like that, time stops. She tries to talk to one of the workers at the spa, but the guy is frozen mid-move. At first, Luo panics, thinking something's wrong with him. But then it clicks, Alice has gone full power mode. which is never a good thing. Everyone around her is frozen in place, totally still. Meanwhile, the trash bin girl tries to give Alice back the towel, probably hoping Alice will cover herself up. Alice? She's pissed. And now she's in the mood to teach the trash bin girl a lesson. Honestly, if Alice wanted, she could snap her fingers, and this girl would literally turn into a trash bin. The poor girl realizes just how much trouble she's in and starts begging for forgiveness. She's apologizing left and right, trying to make things right. Alice? She's sitting there with a wicked grin. She's clearly enjoying making this girl squirm. But eventually, Alice decides to let her off the hook and snaps time back to normal. Luo breathes a sigh of relief. Thank God everything is back to normal. Alice, though, she tells the trash girl, we still have real stuff to do at this spa, so let's get back to it. Eventually, they all head back to Luo's apartment. Luo's just happy to be home. He needs to relax. But the girls? Oh, they're starving. Luo is still annoyed that the trash bin girl followed them home. He's told her multiple times that she can't stay. For one thing, she's lugging around this giant trash bin, and there's no way it's fitting in his tiny apartment. Plus, it's just ridiculous. But the trash bin girl? She's all like, please, please, I'll be the best helper ever. Alice finally gives in and decides to keep her. Luo, though, is like, there's no space, Alice. What are we gonna do with a giant bin? With a quick flick of her powers, she transforms the trash bin girl into a small, regular-sized trash bin, one that actually fits in the apartment. Perfect. Luo's not exactly thrilled, but at least it's manageable now. The girl's cool with it, until a new problem pops up. Alice's stomach growls. Oh, when Alice is hungry, she gets cranky. She turns to Luo, order us some amazing food. Now, suddenly, the little trash bin tips over and clunk. Alice switches her back to human form, and the trash bin girl immediately throws a fit. She demands to join in on the food order, whining and crying like she's been through it. Luo has no choice. He orders food for himself, Alice, and the trash bin girl. And of course, she wants to eat everything. They all chow down hard, and by the time they're done, everyone's wiped out. But then, the trash bin girl starts another round of demands. Now she's saying she wants to be taken out to lunch every day. Luo's thinking, how is my wallet supposed to survive this? The next morning, Luo wakes up with a pounding hangover. Feels like he had way too much to drink last night. And then it hits him, Alice is in bed with him. And her boobs are pressed up against him. Luo freaks out, shoots out of bed, and loses his mind. Luo starts piecing together what happened last night. Not only did they order a bunch of food, but they also went hard on drinks. Before long, the whole crew was hammered. They just kept drinking for hours. At one point, Alice started bawling her eyes out, ranting about how tough it is being a goddess. She blamed humans for making her life miserable. Then she turned to Luo and told him, I'm making you my pet. Meanwhile, the trash bin girl totally lost it. She wanted to run out of the apartment, yelling to everyone that she was finally free. Luo had to grab her and explain that if she left the apartment without him, she'd turn back into her trash bin form. That finally got through to her. The drinks kept flowing, and before long, everyone passed out. Now it's morning, and Luo tries to wake up Alice, but somehow, his hands end up on her chest again. His nose immediately starts bleeding. This is just too much for him. Alice is way too hot. Alice finally wakes up, groggy and annoyed, demanding water. Luo takes a second to look around and realizes, yup, the apartment is trashed. Then the doorbell rings. Luo stumbles over to answer it, and when he opens the door, surprise, it's his mom. Before Luo can say a word, Alice walks up behind him. His mom's jaw practically drops. She's pissed, and also super confused. Who is this girl? And what happened to Nikki? His mom was sure he was still dating Nikki, and now here's this totally different girl in his apartment. But even she has to admit, damn, this Alice girl is way hotter than Nikki. Then his mom narrows her eyes. Wait, did you break up with Nikki? Luo panics. No, it's not like that. Now his mom looks even more upset. She's convinced Luo is cheating on Nikki. Just as things are spiraling out of control, Alice steps in and says, I'm his cousin. Luo's heart sinks. That excuse? Yeah, it might work on strangers, but not on his mom. Sure enough, his mom's like, you don't have any cousins. Luo thinks they're done for, but Alice has one last trick up her sleeve. With a flick of her powers, Alice rewires Luo's mom's memories. Now, all of a sudden, she remembers Alice as part of the family. Oh yeah, that's right, Alice, the hot cousin. Crisis averted, for now. Things take a wild turn when his mom decides that they should all go on a shopping trip. So now Luo, Alice, and his mom are heading to the mall for a full-on day out. His mom is on a mission. They visit temples, tourist spots, and take a million photos. Alice is having a blast, but Luo? He's so over it. And his mom? She's acting weirdly nice to Alice, like she's trying to impress her. She even drags them to get food and makes sure Alice eats everything on the table. Classic mom move. Eventually, his mom gets a work call and has to leave in a rush. But before she heads out, she gives Luo a stern look and says, "Take good care of Alice, okay?" Then, out of nowhere, she pats Alice on the head and says goodbye. Alice just freezes. She's completely caught off guard. For a second, she worries that maybe the goddess inside her might be angry or something. But then it hits her. This is the first time anyone has ever touched her head like that. Luo is so confused. He can't wrap his head around the fact that gods don't do stuff like head pats in their realm. When Alice and Luo get back home, it's obvious Alice is still thinking about that moment. She tells him, humans are weird creatures. It's starting to look like the more time Alice spends with Luo and his family, the more she's beginning to change. Now we jump back to a flashback. This is from before Alice started living with Luo. It's also before Luo leveled up his powers. Back then, he still wore that bandage on his hand to avoid accidentally turning random objects into hot babes. He was still getting the hang of things. One day, Luo's mom came by for a visit, and she brought him a gift. It was a leather wallet. She wanted him to grow up and learn how to manage his money better. At first, Luo didn't want the wallet, but his mom made him take it. That's when all the chaos began. As it happens, Luo has a cat. And of course, the cat hated the wallet for some reason. At some point, the wallet got tossed into the air, and guess what? It landed right in Luo's hand. Bam! Just like that, the wallet transformed into a gorgeous woman. This woman was different. She was dressed in leather, had serious attitude, and gave off major badass vibes. And somehow, she immediately took control of the situation. She told Luo he was getting a makeover, no arguments. Next thing he knew, they were riding around in a limo, heading to a fancy dinner. She went on a shopping spree and bought Luo tons of stuff, using his own credit card, of course. Luo didn't have much choice but to go along with it. She was scary and super hot. Eventually, she changed back into a regular wallet. But by then, Luo was in huge trouble. He'd burned through a ton of money. When his mom found out, she went ballistic and started yelling at him. Now we jump back to the present. Luo's on his way to school, happy to be back in a normal routine after all the crazy stuff with his powers. When he arrives, he meets up with Sin and they hang out. Luo's been so busy lately, it's nice to chill with his friends again. After school, they meet up with Alice outside. And, well, everyone is staring at her, and who could blame them? Alice is rocking a short skirt and a tight black shirt, and she looks incredible. Alice is being extra friendly with Zhong and seems really into hanging out with her. Luo is nervous, though. He knows Alice too well, she loves to gossip, and she really loves teasing him. The three of them wander around town, just talking and hanging out. Everything seems chill, until the ground starts shaking. It's an earthquake. People everywhere are falling to the ground. It's bad. Luo gets knocked down too, but when he looks over at Alice, she's standing perfectly still, focused and serious. Something's definitely up. Then, out of nowhere, Alice opens a portal, and just like that, she's gone. Luo and Sin pick themselves up, but something feels off. Luo realizes he can't remember Alice anymore. For some reason, the memory of her is gone from his mind, like she never existed. The only thing Luo remembers is Nikki, but not Alice. Now Luo is freaking out. He knows something must have happened to Alice, and he takes off running to figure out what's going on. That's when he gets a sudden vision of a powerful, evil-looking man wearing a hood. Luo pushes forward and finally stumbles upon a huge car accident. Luo decides to activate his powers and summon a new girl to help him out. The new girl shows up, but he doesn't have time to explain anything. He's so stressed and angry that he accidentally grabs her arm too hard, hurting her. Luo feels super bad, but the girl brushes it off. She's wearing a police uniform since, in her original form, she was some kind of traffic control device. Luo quickly asks her if she saw anything weird at the scene of the car accident. The girl tells him something really strange happened right before the crash. She saw a mysterious man walking down the street. He gave off some seriously evil vibes. Out of nowhere, this man threw a can at her when she was still in her old form. Then, he calmly started crossing the street just as a car came speeding towards him. But the guy didn't even flinch. He just lifted his hand and pointed at the car. Suddenly, the car flew through the air and smashed into other vehicles. Luo is shocked. There's someone out there with powers even stronger than his, and this guy seems dangerous. Luo thanks the police girl and turns her back into her normal form. Then, without wasting a second, he runs in the direction she said the man was heading. He's really starting to freak out about Alice. He doesn't want the horrible vision he saw to become real. As he runs deeper into the dark streets, he notices blood on the ground, and a set of keys. And then, the nightmare becomes reality. Luo finds Alice lying on the ground, badly hurt and barely alive. Panic sets in. Luo desperately tries to wake her up, but nothing works. Suddenly, a terrifying voice echoes from the shadows. Luo looks up and finds himself face to face with the villain who's been causing all this chaos. He shouts at the villain, demanding to know why he hurt Alice. The villain just laughs, not taking Luo seriously at all. Luo asks him, "Do you even know that Alice is a god?" The villain smirks. "Yeah, I know. I just don't care," he says. Then, he insults both Luo and Alice, like he couldn't care less about either of them. Now Luo's pissed. He stands up, calling the villain a scumbag, and demands a fight. The villain doesn't like that one bit. Though his face is still hidden, his red eyes flash in the darkness as he steps closer. Luo knows this fight is about to go down, and he's ready to get revenge for Alice. Luo suddenly wakes up, gasping, in a hospital bed. His head is bandaged, and his whole body feels wrecked. Sitting next to him is another guy, a friendly patient, who fills him in. Apparently, Luo was found badly injured in the street and brought to the hospital. He was unconscious for 3 whole days. The doctors thought he wasn't going to wake up. The guy next to him teases Luo, joking that he must have gotten into a fight over a girl. Luo tries to explain that's not what happened, but his memories are fuzzy. The one thing he remembers clearly is Alice, hurt and lying on the ground. He still can't believe he ended up in the hospital this badly beaten. Just then, Nikki shows up and wraps Luo in a big hug. Luo is relieved to see her and tells her that, thanks to his evolving powers, she can stay in her human form even longer now. They're catching up when, suddenly, some police officers arrive. And wouldn't you know it, one of the officers is the same one who thought Luo was involved in the accident. This should be interesting. The police show up and need to ask Luo some questions about the car accident. They tell him the security cameras caught him running from the scene, and now there's a theory he might be involved. Plus, there were a lot of injured people, and one person even died. Hearing that makes Luo's heart drop. His mind jumps to Alice, and he fears the worst. What if she really did die, just like in his vision? Luo tries to explain himself to the officers and asks if Alice is okay. One of the cops reassures him, saying he doesn't think Luo is a criminal. He might actually be a victim. But the other officer isn't convinced. He's already suspicious and clearly thinks Luo's guilty of something. Luo starts answering their questions, but pretty quickly, there's a problem. He can't remember much of anything. All he recalls is finding Alice bloody and hurt and talking to the girl who saw the accident. But beyond that, nothing. No memory of the villain or what really happened. The cops are surprised, but the friendly patient sitting with Luo chimes in, explaining that Luo took a pretty bad hit to the head. Memory loss makes sense. The officers decide to come back later once Luo's had more time to recover. As they leave, one officer gives Luo a nasty glare. Luo knows right then, this isn't over. Once the cops are gone, Luo talks with Nikki about everything. No matter how hard he tries, he just can't remember what happened. Nikki tells him she doesn't know much about the accident either, but she did find something strange, a key. Apparently, when Luo was found, he was clutching a key in his hand. Luo's confused. What could this key mean? He tries hard to remember, but it's like hitting a mental wall. The only thing he vaguely recalls is finding a key in the alley, but after that, it's all blank. He asks Nikki if she has any more info, but she's just as stumped as he is. Soon after, Luo's mom shows up, totally freaking out. She was worried sick about him, but also kind of mad at him for getting hurt in the first place. Typical mom stuff? Luo's starving by this point. Nikki brought him some food, but his mom insists on going even bigger. She's determined to bring him better food. Luo feels embarrassed. His mom always babies him, but deep down, it's kind of nice knowing someone cares. Meanwhile, the friendly patient is just sitting there, finding Luo and his whole crew very strange, but super entertaining to watch. As Luo and Nikki hang out, the patient can't help but tease them, saying it's obvious they're into each other. Luo rolls his eyes and tells him to chill, and they all laugh about it. Then, Luo's mom comes back, but this time, she's not alone. She brought private chefs with her to make fancy meals for all the patients. Even the friendly patient gets to enjoy the gourmet food. Luo is thrilled. He digs in, finally satisfying the hunger he's been feeling for what feels like forever. Nikki's loving it too. His mom's beaming, happy that he's eating and feeling better. But, of course, she still manages to scold him for something. Meanwhile, the friendly patient can't help but comment that Luo's mom is super hot, and jokes that he'd love to be Luo's new stepdad. Luo's mom just ignores him and keeps hanging out with Nikki. That night, something weird happens. Luo is lying in bed when, out of nowhere, a nurse shows up in his room. It's too dark to see her clearly, but she asks him a really creepy question. Do you want to live or not? Luo's heart sinks. He knows something's seriously off. Not knowing how else to respond, he stammers, I want to live. The nurse doesn't say anything else and quietly leaves the room. Luo spends the rest of the night obsessing over what just happened. Who was that nurse? Was she someone with powers? He's determined to find out. The next day, he starts asking around, but none of the other patients have any clue what he's talking about. That night, Luo stays up late, hoping the nurse will come back, but she never does. He even asks Nikki to help by keeping an eye out for the mysterious nurse, but she can't find anything either. Luo's been in the hospital for a few days now. His body's healing, but his memory is still foggy. He can't remember much from the accident. Despite all that, he's in good spirits because Nikki's always around. He hasn't made any progress on figuring out the nurse's identity, but then it hits him. Maybe she wasn't even talking to me that night. What if she was here for the other patient in the room? Luo learns that one of the other patients in his room has liver cancer and is really sick. Maybe the nurse's question was meant for him. Curious, Luo chats with the man. The guy is kind, but it's clear he's really sick. They drink some water together and talk for a bit before Luo gets interrupted by a phone call. It's Zhong. She's freaking out because Luo has been gone for days and she just found out he's in the hospital. She's been worried sick about him ever since the accident when he disappeared without saying anything. Now, knowing he's in the hospital, she's even more panicked and desperate to see him. Luo does his best to calm her down, explaining that he's okay and that Nikki's been keeping him company the whole time. But something about Nikki seems strange. She's been in her human form for days and hasn't transformed back into a phone once. Luo finds it weird and has no idea what it means. A few hours later, Zhong finally arrives at the hospital and hugs Luo so tightly he can barely breathe. She promises she'll do whatever it takes to help him recover. Days go by, and Luo keeps getting better, though he's still not strong enough to walk properly. Zhong is there every single day, helping him with everything. Her care and dedication really show how much she cares about Luo, and he's grateful to have her around. But even with Zhong's help, Luo's mind is a mess. He keeps having strange visions of Alice. In the visions, Alice warns him about humanity's future. He only has 1 year left before everything on Earth falls apart. One afternoon, Zhong takes Luo outside for some fresh air. They sit together, but Luo can't stop worrying. About the future, about Alice, and about what that strange nurse meant. Then he hears the news. The patient with liver cancer is suddenly cured. Luo's convinced that the mysterious nurse had something to do with it. Now more than ever, Luo knows he needs to find out who she really is. Meanwhile, Zhong stays by his side, taking care of him every step of the way. Luo knows his recovery will take a while, but having people around like Nikki makes it easier. Lately, though, Nikki has been staying in her phone form for a few days straight, and Luo's starting to realize his powers are changing. He just doesn't know how or why yet. He tells Zhong to head home and get some rest. But Zhong gets a little frustrated, feeling like Luo is trying to push her away. Luo thanks her again and explains that he just feels bad for keeping her around too long. Zhong eventually leaves, but they agree to catch up later and work on homework together so he doesn't fall too far behind on school. Just as Luo gets ready to summon Nikki, his friendly roommate shows up, wanting to chat. The guy can't stop talking about how cool Luo is and how he has so many girls interested in him. Luo gets embarrassed and decides to ask for a room change so he can finally have some peace. Now that he's alone, Luo summons Nikki, but something feels off. Nikki seems sad. He asks her what's going on, and to his surprise, Nikki starts crying. "I hope you don't hate me," Nikki says through tears. Luo is confused. Nikki has always been his closest friend, and he doesn't understand why she'd say that. Nikki explains that she stayed in her phone form for the past few days, meaning she couldn't take care of Luo like she wanted. Instead, it was Zhong who looked after him, and Nikki feels guilty about it. Luo hugs her tight. "You're the best, Nikki. Don't worry about it. I'm fine." Then Nikki drops a bomb. "By the way, I think Zhong likes you." Luo laughs. "No way, that's ridiculous." He brushes it off, saying it doesn't matter anyway. All he cares about is Nikki. He likes her and only her. Luo even says he'd rather spend all his time with Nikki and date just her. Not long after, a nurse shows up to check on Luo. As soon as she speaks, Luo recognizes her voice. It's the same nurse from that weird night. She redoes his bandages and casually tells him to take off his clothes so she can check his injuries. Luo gets super nervous because, of course, the nurse is drop-dead gorgeous. After finishing up, the nurse leaves, but Luo is now certain. This has to be the same nurse who asked him if he wanted to live and the one who mysteriously healed that other patient. He and Nikki talk it over, and Luo starts to wonder if the nurse has superpowers like him. "Do you think we can trust her?" Luo asks. "I don't know," Nikki says. "We should be careful." They come up with a plan. Nikki will spy on the nurse to find out more about her. For the next few days, Nikki follows the nurse's every move and reports back to Luo. They're still not sure if the nurse is a friend or an enemy, so Luo decides to play it safe for now. But Nikki is exhausted from all the sneaking around, and her battery is running low. Just then, the nurse shows up again, and Nikki quickly transforms back into a phone. Unfortunately, the nurse notices, and Luo realizes, he's busted. The nurse now knows about Nikki's secret. Luo tries to explain the situation, but it's too late. The truth is out. At first, Luo tries to play dumb with the nurse, acting like nothing weird happened. But the nurse isn't buying it. she calls him out on his lies right away. Realizing he's trapped, Luo decides to come clean. He admits that he has powers, just like her. The nurse sighs, realizing she's also been caught. She explains that her powers are only for healing, not hurting anyone. But she's still a little suspicious of Luo, so she asks him to prove his powers. Since Nikki's battery is dead, Luo can't summon her, so instead, he grabs a pillow. He uses his power to turn it into a girl, an absolutely stunning girl, who immediately wants to serve him. The nurse stares in disbelief. Okay, so you're not lying. Luo quickly turns the pillow girl back into a pillow and tells the nurse everything. The nurse finally opens up too, explaining that she's been using her healing abilities to help people in the hospital. But she also has some bad news. The villain Luo fought didn't just hurt him normally. He shattered every bone in Luo's body in tiny, nearly invisible ways. Modern doctors can't detect it, but if she doesn't heal him soon, all his bones will break, and he'll die. Luo agrees to let the nurse heal him. For the next few hours, she carefully restores his body. Once the healing is finished, the nurse is completely exhausted, but Luo is incredibly grateful. She makes him promise not to get himself hurt like this again. They also talk about Alice, the goddess who gave them both their powers. The nurse introduces herself as Li Cheng and says that she met Alice briefly, but it wasn't for very long. She also explains that Alice isn't the only god out there. Other gods can give powers to humans too. Luo realizes that things are way more complicated than he thought. Before Li Cheng leaves, Luo knows he's found a new friend. Later, he talks with Nikki to try and piece together what happened that day. Nikki explains that after she was knocked out, the villain disappeared without a trace. She called an ambulance for Luo but also wanted to go back and help Alice. By the time Nikki returned, though, Alice was gone. Luo now knows that Alice might really be gone, and he'll have to move forward without her. He, Nikki, and Li Cheng talk about Alice and how hard it will be to find her without any new leads. Luo is convinced that Alice is still alive, but since she's a goddess, it's impossible to reach her. Then Li Cheng admits something personal. She adores Alice because the goddess once saved her life. That's the reason she's so committed to helping people now. Suddenly, Luo's mom bursts into the room, wanting to visit her son. But right away, they start arguing, first about his cat, Mimi, and then about Nikki. Luo firmly tells his mom that no matter what, he's never giving away Mimi. Later, Luo has a strange vision. In the vision, he's floating in space. He sees Li Cheng lying in a bed made of crystals. Then Alice appears and tells him something shocking. Soon, she's going to take over Li Cheng's body. Luo is totally confused, unsure of what any of it means. Later, Nikki and Luo head to the store, where they run into Luo's childhood friend and her mother. Her mom tries to bring up the idea of arranging a marriage between Luo and her daughter, which makes things super awkward. But Luo somehow manages to get through the encounter without losing his mind. When they get back home, Luo and Nikki cook a delicious meal together. Nikki tries to clean up around the house, but she keeps running into problems with Mimi, who's causing all sorts of trouble. Meanwhile, Luo's trying to dig up more info about the villain who attacked him. He suddenly gets a wild idea. What if he turns his shirt into a girl and asks her for info? So, he gives it a shot. But unfortunately, the shirt girl doesn't know anything, so he's gotta keep trying. Eventually, he summons Pants Babe to help him out. Pants Babe gives him some clues, not a ton, but just enough to give him a lead on what happened that day. Next, Luo figures, why not try the shoes? So, he summons a Shoe Babe too, hoping to uncover more details. In the middle of the night, Luo wakes up while everyone else is still asleep. After feeding his adorable cat, Mimi, he decides to explore his apartment building. During his little adventure, he runs into a new kid who just moved in. The kid's kinda weird and asks Luo a bunch of random, personal questions. Luo doesn't think much of it and heads back home. But on the way, Luo suddenly sees the same kid falling off the building. Without missing a beat, Luo summons a Rope Babe to save him just in time. Turns out the kid was sleepwalking. That's why he almost fell. Now, Luo decides to help the kid figure out what's going on with his sleepwalking. Along the way, they're joined by another strange kid who randomly starts following Luo around. After making sure the sleepwalker is safe, Luo finally heads home, feeling good about himself. He saved someone today, and it's giving him a bit of a hero vibe. He's kinda proud. Then, out of nowhere, one day he meets the kid's mom. And, yeah, you guessed it, she's insanely hot. Like, ridiculously hot. Luo's pretty much stunned. The kid looks at Luo and asks, "Big brother, why are you here?" Luo says, "Yes, I was worried about you, so I came to see you." The kid's mom says, excuse me, may I ask who you are?" Luo replies, "Hello, my name is Luo Shencher. I live in the same neighborhood as you." Just then, the kid pinches Luo from behind. Luo says, "Why are you pinching me?" The kid starts whispering something to Luo, which makes his mom look confused. The kid says, "Big brother, you have to keep what happened last night a secret. If my mom finds out I went out in the middle of the night, she'll definitely scold me." Luo agrees to keep it a secret. Then the kid's mom comes closer and asks, What are you two talking about so mysteriously? Luo and the kid are both startled. The mom says, is there something I shouldn't hear? Luo says, this is a secret between men. The mom replies, my son is only 8 years old. What kind of secret between men could he have? Luo says, even 8-year-olds can have secrets. He'll grow up eventually. The mom says, you seem a little strange. Please don't influence my son in a bad way. At his age, he might believe anything people say. The kid says, big brother is not a bad guy. He's my lifesaver. The mom asks, lifesaver? What do you mean? The kid suddenly realizes he said too much. The mom says, are you hiding something from me? Luo quickly says, that, I meant he's a lifesaver in the game. It's just a game. The mom asks, what do you mean by game? Luo, feeling a bit nervous, says, we often play games together, and I saved him in the game, right? The kid nods in agreement. The mom calms down a bit and says, oh, so it was a game. Then she says with a bit of anger, but I told you to read books. You went to play games again, didn't you? The kid gets really scared. To ease the situation, Luo says, I just remembered I have something to do. The kid asks, big brother is leaving? Let's play games together next time. Luo says, if auntie doesn't mind. The kid gives his mom a sweet smile. The mom finally agrees to let him play games. Luo says goodbye to both of them and leaves. Back in his room, Luo says, oh man, today was a bit rushed, but at least it'll be easier to get close to the kid now. Then he starts feeling hungry and is about to order food when he gets a call from Zhong. Luo answers, Zhong, why did you suddenly call me? Zhong says, what, can I call you just like that? Luo says, no, it's a great honor whenever you call me. Zhong says, alright, I won't tease you anymore. I was actually planning to ask you out for dinner today. I didn't pick you up after you got discharged from the hospital, and you usually don't eat well. You just order takeout every day, right? Hearing this, Luo feels a little hurt emotionally. Zhong says, by the way, you and Nikki come along. The three of us can go together. Luo says, why are you being so generous? Zhong says, I can hear your stomach growling, so don't be shy. I'll send you the address. See you soon. After the call ends, Luo thinks, this is so embarrassing. Then Luo calls Nikki and says, Zhong wants to treat us to dinner. Let's go. The scene shifts to a mall where Luo and Nikki have arrived. Nikki holds Luo's hand and says, let's walk like this. Seeing this, Luo gets really flustered. The scene shifts to Zhong, who is waiting for them. When she sees Luo and Nikki together so closely, she feels a little jealous. Luo asks, Zhongyun? What's wrong? Zhong says, oh, nothing. I just suddenly remembered something. Luo asks, is it something important? You seem a little distracted. But Zhong doesn't say anything. Just then, Luo's stomach growls, and they all sit down to eat. Zhong says, Nikki, try this. This barbecue place is pretty good. Nikki tries the food and really likes it. Luo and Nikki start getting closer while eating, which makes Zhong feel a bit uncomfortable. In her mind, Zhong thinks, strange. Why am I so bothered by Luo and Nikki being close? I mean, they're a couple. They're both my friends. Luo asks, why aren't you eating? Are you feeling unwell? Zhong says, oh, nothing. Maybe I'm just tired from studying lately. Luo says, well, if you're not feeling good, tell me. I'll take you home. Zhong says, I'm fine. Don't worry. Just eat your food. Then Zhong also starts eating. Suddenly, Zhong stands up and says, I'm going to the washroom. She heads to the washroom and tries to calm herself down, saying, what am I thinking? Am I actually feeling jealous of their relationship? As she leaves the washroom, she bumps into a drunk man. The drunk man says, can't you see where you're walking? Zhong, scared, says, sorry, I didn't mean to. The drunk man is about to slap her, but Luo steps in and takes the slap instead. Luo says, brother, please don't hit people for no reason. The drunk man starts yelling at Luo. Just then, the restaurant manager comes and takes the drunk man away. Zhong and Luo walk out of the mall. Zhong says, I'm sorry, Luo. I invited you out for dinner, and you got hurt because of me. Luo says, I'm fine. Don't say that. It's not your fault. Then Luo and Nikki say goodbye to Zhong and leave. Zhong still looks a little sad. The scene shifts to the next day. Luo is dreaming about girls, but Mimi wakes him up and asks for food. Luo gives her something to eat. Then he looks around his room and sees that the whole place is a mess. He thinks, there's so much work, how will I do all this alone? Then he gets an idea and summons Tsukiheim. As soon as she appears, she hugs Luo, which makes him shy. Tsukiheim asks, do you have something for me to do? Luo says, I need to clean my room today, but you won't be doing it alone. Then Luo also calls Nikki and explains everything. He gives Nikki a maid outfit to wear. At first, Nikki refuses, but Luo convinces her emotionally, and she finally agrees to wear it. Seeing Nikki in a maid outfit, Luo gets excited. Then all of them start cleaning the room together. While checking his cabinet, Luo finds that same pineapple 11 from where the whole story had started. He feels nostalgic remembering everything. Then his eyes fall on something else, and he gets really embarrassed. embarrassed. Tsukihime comes from behind and asks, "What's that in your hand?" Luo quickly hides it and says, "Nothing, nothing at all." Then they continue cleaning. In the end, Tsukihime notices the floor again. Mimi has made a mess on it. Luo yells, "Little guy, you have to clean it properly." And with that, this video and this manga end. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like. When you like the video, it really motivates me to make more. So please do like it, and I'll see you in the next one.